After enrolling, Kim Yoo-jung was a genius who made it to the top 3 of the magician's ranking, and Jae-hyun assures himself that he won't let her die this time. Chairman Gu Ja-in announces that they'll now begin the Mills Academy's entrance ceremony, and cynically adds that there is a special event prepared. A game where the seniors and the freshmen steal each other's name tags in a demiplane. When he announces that the freshman hunt will now begin, a magic circle appears under their feet, which startles the students. As Yoo-jung jumps away because she's startled, our boy grabs her hands because it's dangerous to get separated. Meanwhile, manager Park Seung-jae recalls that today is Jae-hyun's entrance ceremony, and Seong-eun wonders if it's time already because she wanted to send him a message and wish him good luck. She realizes he won't be able to see the message anymore, and asks manager Seung-jae if the freshman hunt will also take 3 days this time. He affirms that it will happen in the demiplane for 3 days. Seong-eun considers that it's a shame that she won't be able to contact Jae-hyun for another 3 days. But Seung-jae informs her he figured this would happen, so he sent a message in her stead. Excited, the guildmaster asks him if Jae-hyun replied. Meanwhile, Jae-hyun and the others are transported to the demiplane, and he asks Yoo-jung, who is still disoriented nearby, if she's alright. When he looks behind him, he sees Seo-ina, the black-haired lady with hazel eyes, born as a genius with a magic aptitude of 92. In his past life, she was someone who changed people's perception of magicians, and became an S-rank raider, following in Seong-eun's footsteps. In the Manhwa Guild, manager Seung-jae informs Seong-eun that Jae-hyun has replied that they don't worry. At the Mills Academy Central Control Room, the school officials gather to observe the proceedings of the freshman hunt. One of the instructors, Kim Seo-gi, notes that they have quite a few talented cadets this year, and An Hoyeon is so promising that he's getting attention even abroad. Seo-gi mentions that Seo-ina, Kim Young, and Lee Soo-hyuk all received aptitude scores of around 90 or above, but adds that the profiles of the cadets who changed their career paths haven't been updated yet. However, the chairman tells Seo-gi not to bother because there's no point in hearing about those who changed their paths at this point, since their institution isn't so easygoing, and such whimsical people can't last long here. The cadets who enroll in Mills Academy are quite talented on average, but even among them, there are those who are obviously a cut above the rest. The chairman believes the average talents just become a stepping stone for the geniuses in the end, and they don't need to give an opportunity to such cadets. Sometimes, an awakened who meets an enemy they cannot defeat or comes to face death can gain another chance known as a reawakening. Chairman Jae-in believes he has to train one A-rank raider even if it cost him throwing away 100 C-rank raiders. Those who fail are simply those unable to prove themselves, and his role is to pick out the excellent gems to offer to someone behind the scenes, and he can't afford to delay things any longer. The freshman hunt takes place in a man-made demiplane created with magic. Within this space, it is possible to carry out things that would be impossible in reality, like controlling the flow of time or removing the restrictions of space. In this place, around 5% of cadets fail every year. This event is so difficult and lets them realize just how limited their abilities are. In the demiplane, Chairman Jae-in's face appears on a screen, and he proceeds to explain the rules of the freshman hunt. Within the demiplane, they can only use skills that are C rank or below, and every time they steal someone's name tag, they earn points. When a senior takes a freshman's name tag, they will receive 10,000 points. On the other hand, when a freshman takes a senior's name tag, they can get 100,000 points. Since these points can be used in all facilities within Mills, it's good to have more of them. Meanwhile, our boy realizes that he won't be able to use his A-rank skill, Lightning Chain, because they can only use C-rank skills, but the chairman didn't say anything about unique skills. After explaining the rules, the chairman explains that all skills used will be diminished to 1/10 of their usual power for everyone's safety, so they don't have to worry about getting hurt. While listening, Jae-hyun considers these rules as nonsense because not only does the chairman not say a thing about unique skills, but he doesn't mention any limits on stats. What the chairman wants is obviously to filter out the useless ones and pick out the talented. Our boy immediately turns to Yoo-jung and proposes they get going because they need to find a shelter since they have to stay here for 3 days. In this demiplane, there are several things that can be used for survival, such as traps that reduce people's powers, the healing pond, the nightmare forest, ecosystems for foraging, and shelters. If you wanted to survive for 3 days, finding a shelter is the most important out of all those. While they walk, Yoo-jung asks Jae-hyun if it wouldn't be safer to bring Seo-ina along since she's also a magic cadet, and it's better to have one more person with them. It disturbs Jae-hyun that Yoo-jung would say something rational at a time like this, because it really would be better for them to team up with Seo-ina. However, she isn't a variable that he can control, although everything he knows about her is from the news. He recalls having heard something that occurred on an unfortunate day because Ina lost her senses in anger and jeopardized the lives of a great many. Jaehyun informs Yoo-jung that it's not something they can easily decide on because there's no way to say for certain that Ina won't betray them. Moreover, he notes that the girl is wary of them and doesn't seem to trust them either. However, Yoo-jung mentions that from the way she sees it, Ina is just like Jaehyun was when they were younger. Before our boy can say anything, she walks up to Ina and asks her if she would like to come with them since they're both magicians too. Ina doesn't speak for a while, so Yoo-jung mentions that the event is unfair to freshmen like them, so it's easier for them to fight if there are more of them. Ina seems to reason with her, but she mentions that it seems like they'll have to leave the decision of moving together for later, and Yoo-jung soon realizes that they've been ambushed by a group of seniors who are excited to have already found freshmen. One of the seniors, Shin Jushang, mentions that it seems like they'll have an easy time earning points this year, and the other senior, Kwon Soyul, wonders why there are 3 juniors when she had only detected 2. When she looks at Jaehyun, she's shocked because she can't feel anything from him. Meanwhile, Yoo-jung recognizes that the seniors are warriors, so she suggests to Jaehyun that they escape from there first, but our boy insists that they have to catch them now, because if they don't, they won't be able to escape from them. From what Jaehyun remembers, Kwon Soyul has a particular ability that allows her to find any target she focuses on within 300 kilometers called Search. If they don't defeat them now, they might round up other seniors and attack them together. Jushang tells Soyul that once they get a lot of points this time, he's going to eat a ton of good food. But Soyul warns him not to be careless because there's something strange about Jaehyun. However, Jushang summons his sword and states that Jaehyun is just a freshman and they have more experience since they've done this event several times. He tells Soyul to watch him take care of them all in an instant, so he dashes forward. Jaehyun doesn't move an inch, and when Jushang swings his sword at him, he only bends backwards to dodge. The fact that our boy is able to dodge his attack surprises Jushang, and Soyul calls Jushang a fat bastard for not listening to her when she said something is off about the boy. Our boy realizes that it's been a while since someone swung a sword at him. Meanwhile, Jushang tells himself that the boy was just lucky, since there's no way he wouldn't know the name of a freshman who's skilled enough to counter his attack. He reminds Jaehyun that he's just a magic freshman and goes in for another attack, but Jaehyun dodges it again. Annoyed, the senior continues to land several sword strikes, but none of them touch him. Eventually, Jushang starts to sweat and he wonders why he can't seem to land an attack on the boy. Suddenly, Jaehyun grabs the senior's sword mid-swing and commends his skills. As our boy inches closer to the sweating senior, he crushes his sword with his bare hands and asks him how on earth he was able to survive with such a physique all this time. Finally, Jaehyun crushes the sword in his hand, much to the surprise of Seo Ina. Our boy tells Jushang that he'll let him go if he leaves his name tag behind right now and starts a 3-second countdown. Since his sword has been broken before his eyes, Yoon-sung begins to shiver. He can't believe that an ordinary magic freshman is able to overpower him with such an aura. When Joon-sung doesn't respond, Jaehyun tells him not to say he didn't give him a chance because he was the one who didn't take it. In one swift movement, Jaehyun lands a startling punch at Joon-sung's jaw and knocks him backward towards Soyul. Immediately, the system in the freshman hunt announces that Shin Jun-sang has been eliminated. In the academy control room, the instructors read on the screen that Min Jae-hyun has obtained 100,000 points. One of the instructors, named Jang Yasu, is shocked that it's not An Hoyeon but an unknown person named Min Jae-hyun. She asks another instructor named Park Hae-jun if there's a problem somewhere. But Hae-jun, who is equally surprised, explains that there's nothing wrong with the results. Ha-jun asks another instructor named Kim Ji-yeon if there's any problem on her end either, but there isn't any. Meanwhile, a smirk develops on Chairman Jaehyun's face, and he seems drawn to Min Jae-hyun. Inside the demiplane, Soyul demands to know what on earth Jae-hyun is, but our boy informs Yoo-jung to get ready so they can take care of the other senior too, and he asks her to accept the party invite he'll send soon. As Yoo-jung equips herself, she wonders if Jae-hyun was always this strong. Ina equips herself also, and Soyul curses at the stupid Jun-sang, who has made things much more complicated. Even without the monstrous boy who took out Yoon-sung, 3-on-1 is too dangerous. She decides that she has to get rid of at least one of them and get away from here. After grabbing one of her daggers, she dashes toward Yoo-jung, who becomes startled. Jae-hyun considers that Jun-sung didn't make a bad decision. He knows she plans to create confusion with a rush attack, then make an opening to escape. It's a good plan, but that would only work if Yoo-jung were just an ordinary person. To Soyul's surprise, Yoo-jung activates her binding to attack Soyul, forcing the senior to throw her daggers at her. Before the daggers reach her, Yoo-jung creates a barrier around herself. Jae-hyun, who is watching nearby, considers that it's still too hard for Yoo-jung to take on a senior all by herself. And as he proceeds to help, Ina activates something called the Holy Light of Alfheim. Ina uses the Holy Light to form a radiant sword that catches our boy's attention. He knows that this is Ina's unique skill, and it's called the Falchion of Alfheim. Ina rains several holy swords on the unsuspecting senior and impales her. causing her to sputter blood from her mouth. As soil falls to the ground, she realizes that all 3 students were monsters and not just one of them. Soon after, the system announces that player Kwon Soil has been eliminated. Based on the level of contribution, player Yoo-jung obtains 50,000 points, while Ina also gets 50,000. Based on the level of contribution, player Yoo-jung obtains 50,000 points, while Ina also gets 50,000. After taking down the senior, Ina turns to the others and asks them if she interrupted by any chance. Excited, Yoo-jung tells her she didn't, because she was able to win because of her. Eventually, Ina asks her if the offer she made before is still on the table, and our boy realizes that he may need to update the information he has on Co Ina. It's clear that she's reserved, distrusting, and very curious. Soon after, the system informs the 3 of them that they formed a party and placed Jaehyun as the leader of the party. Sometime later, close to a shelter at the Nightmare Forest, some footprints are evident, and some students figure out that people have passed that way before, and it seems like they entered a shelter. The seniors are looking for the freshmen who are able to eliminate Kwon Soyul and Shin Junsung, so they decide to stop searching and just keep an eye around this area. The freshman hunt game lasts for 3 days, and they believe those brats can't stay holed up in the shelter for all 3 days. As they move forward to find the 3 freshmen, Yoo-jung appears nearby, and one of the seniors named Kim Sung-hoon is punctured in the chest by a light, and the system announces his elimination. One other senior notices Yoo-jung running away and signals the rest, so they run after her. However, Yoo-jung is running with a smile on her face, and when she counts that there are about 5 of them, she's relieved that things are going smoothly. She soon turns to them and tells them that they're like dogs going after a bone, so she asks if they aren't embarrassed to be moving in such a big group, and the angry seniors ask her to stop right there. However, Yoo-jung keeps running away as she considers their simple-mindedness. Just a while ago, Jaehyun had told them that although shelters may be a safe place, they can't stay there the whole time because they need to find food, and they need to obtain points. The girls are surprised, but our boy plainly tells them that they need to hunt some seniors. In the present, Yoo-jung keeps running until she finds some mushrooms, which are, in fact, a Class 1 organism that can reduce one's abilities. She's glad that she's found it and has succeeded in luring over the seniors as planned, but she becomes worried that her endurance is slowly reaching its limits. Using the wind boost skill, she blasts herself far away from them and leaves things in Jaehyun's hands. When the seniors enter the area, they're informed that they've entered the paralyzing spore mushroom habitat. A while back, Jaehyun had visited Jae-sang to find a way to deal with the paralyzing spore mushroom during the freshman hunt, and Jae-sang informed him that ash tree sap would probably be the best way since it's common in the Nightmare Forest, but it's only useful as a cure and can't prevent the effect. If you're already under the effects of the paralyzing spore mushroom, then it would be of good use. In the present, the seniors stop when they realize where they are. As they watch Yoo-jung run away, the system informs them that they have entered the paralyzing spore mushroom habitat. One of them signals to their leader Ji-hyuk that this is pretty dangerous, so he suggests that they retreat. But Ji-hyuk angrily sets his sights on Yoo-jung, who is still running away. He asks the others if they're really saying they should give up when they've gotten this far, but the others consider that everything will be ruined if they make a mistake now, so they suggest they stop chasing. However, Ji-hyuk insists that Kim Sung-hoon was taken out by that freshman brat, referring to Yoo-jung, so they shouldn't be saying such bullcrap right now. The cautious one among them reminds Ji-hyuk again that it doesn't matter if their opponent is a freshman because it would be of no use if they also end up paralyzed, because the paralyzing spore mushroom can affect beings within an approximately 50-meter radius. Ji-hyuk assures the others that the brat will be paralyzed too. He orders one of them, named Park Sung-hyuk, to stay here and steer clear of the debuff area to watch out for them, while the rest of them follow him to get the girl. He believes that all of their petty tricks will be useless, even though he knows that they're probably using one of their members as bait, trying to lure them into a trap so they can attack them. He believes that they're looking down on him too much. He can't believe that mere freshmen would dare to try to trick him. After running ahead for a while, they catch up to brat Yoo-jung, and Ji-hyuk tells her that a shitty brat like her really made them work for it. He asks her where she's going to run, but instead of cowering in fear, she welcomes them and informs them they're all done for. Yoo-jung asks which of them cursed at her and asks the person to raise his hand. And as the men dash towards her with their weapons, Ji-hyuk is amused that she's acting arrogant to the end. When the men almost reach her, she smiles and touches one of the mushrooms with her weapon, causing it to burst. The system notifies them that a paralyzing spore mushroom has burst, and all organisms within a 50-meter radius have been paralyzed for 2 hours. In a flashback, Yoo-jung protests to Jae-hyun that he had said they were going to look for something important, but there's nothing where they're looking but trees. He asks her to wait a while because they're in the right place while he drains some ash tree sap. Yoo-jun points out that they must have noticed that this event is more advantageous to warriors. and Ina agrees that being able to use C-rank skills and below is a big restriction to magicians who rely heavily on skills. For warriors, who have great physiques already, the restriction in the demiplane is useless. Yujung laments that it's still alright for Ina, who has a unique skill, but all her own useful attack skills are sealed, and the best she can do is buff spells and basic skills. When she asks what she should do, Jaehyun explains that they need to make a plan by using those basic skills as efficiently as possible, so he asks her if she knows how to use the skill called change. Yujung proudly tells him she can and reminds him that she was the one who taught him magic theory. Ina mentions that change is a spell that swaps one's location with that of a designated party member, so she asks him what plan he's going to make with it. When he's done retrieving the ash tree sap, he tells the ladies that they can do something pretty fun with change using the sap. In the present, Jaehyun tells Ina they need to get ready, and she agrees. On the field where Yujung is, Jihyuk calls Yujung a crazy B-word, because she really burst one of the spores, but Yujung activates her change skill and passes the baton to someone else. As she disappears, she informs them that it's no longer her turn anymore, and Jaehyun appears where she disappeared and pushes his leg into Jihyuk's face, stating that it's his turn now. Our boy breaks the senior's nose and kicks him to the ground, then later lands on the ground. Jihyuk lands on the ground still paralyzed and begins to curse. Still paralyzed, he angrily asks Jaehyun if he thinks that everything will go according to plan, and he calls him an idiot for entering the paralyzing spore mushroom's habitat. He informs Jaehyun that he figured he would do something like this, so he left one of his companions waiting outside, and he promises him that they're done for once the spores dissipate. Before he can finish his statement, Jaehyun informs him that the guy he left behind won't be coming. Confused, Jihyuk says he's saying bull, but a scream soon erupts from the spot they left Sunghyuk in, and the system announces to them that player Park Sunghyuk has been eliminated. Sunghyuk lays on the ground with Ina's holy sword driven through his body, and the system awards 100,000 points to Jaehyun, Yujung, and Ina. Jihyuk lays on the ground confused, and Jaehyun reminds him that he told him that his friend won't be coming. Extremely angry, Jihyuk blurts out that they're still in the same situation for the next 2 hours, and he'll personally take care of him once he's paralyzed. While he's still talking, our boy takes a step forward and asks him what he means by them being in the same situation. That sight shocks the heck out of Jihyuk, and he wonders how this boy is moving right now. He protests that this is impossible, and Jaehyun agrees with him that it is. However, Jaehyun asks him to take it up with the gods. The truth is, our boy is unaffected by the paralysis debuff because Hell's blessing completely negates any abnormal inflictions on him. Now sweat begins to drip from Jihyuk's face, and he warns Jaehyun to stay away from him. But the others soon watch the horrific scene of their teammate being murdered. The system soon announces that player Oh Jin-hyuk has been eliminated, and players Jaehyun, Yujung, and Ina have obtained 100,000 points. When that's taken care of, our boy smiles at the 3 people left, and as they plead that he stop, he takes out all 3 of them, and the team obtains 100,000 points 3 times again. Instructor Yisu can't believe her eyes, and the freshman ranking soon updates with Min Jae-hyun at the top, Kim Yujung and Seo Ina at second, An Hoyeon on second, 2 people named Lee Soo-hyuk and Cha Yuan on 5th, and someone named Jang Ho-san on 7th. Meanwhile, Yujung drinks the ash tree sap and almost vomits, but when Ina comes to check on her, she admits that she's feeling better now. As they both head out, Ina comments that Jaehyun seems to know a lot about magic, and he's never read that one could use the change skill like this in the books. However, Yujung informs her that it hasn't even been 3 months since Jaehyun became a magician, and that's why she's the one who taught him theory. Surprised, Ina asks her if she means that Jaehyun was actually planning to be a warrior, and Yujung affirms that, and tells her that Jaehyun was pretty devoted to combat just a few months ago. The only thing that intrigues Yujung is that Jaehyun knew about the tree sap, and she wonders where he learned something like that and how he will get rid of his own paralysis. Soon after, they run into him, and our boy asks them how the paralysis is because it seems neither of them has had any trouble. Yujung cheerfully states that it's expected, even though she only just ran like hell and cast 1 spell. She turns to Ina and asks if she's also fine, and Ina replies that she's fine too. Eventually, Yujung tells Jaehyun that his plan this time wasn't too bad. She adds that he usually looks stupid, but he looks a bit different today. Suddenly, Jaehyun grabs her cheeks and asks her who she's calling stupid, and asks if she has the right to be saying something like that. Ina simply watches them messing around, and she wonders why Yujung called Jaehyun stupid, and notices she thinks he looks pretty handsome. While they're both still messing around, Ina is caught off guard by her thinking and realizes this isn't the time to be thinking about something like that. And as a tear rolls down her cheek, she recalls that she has to be careful. Later, they return to their shelter, and Jaehyun proceeds to make some sort of concoction. Ina approaches him and asks what he's making, so he tells her it's an HP recovery potion. He says he learned to make it from an older brother of his just in case he needs it. And he recalls Jae-sung crying over him murdering his poor ingredients when it took him over 100 tries to do it. Yoo-jung asks Jae-hyun how he can know someone that can teach him such things when he doesn't even have friends, and he taunts her by asking if she has many friends aside from him. The comment stings, and Yoo-jung laments that that was a bit unfair. Suddenly, Ina tells Jae-hyun that he's really amazing, and it's like he's not someone their age. She says he's so skilled that it's like he's lived a decade more. Confused, Jae-hyun doesn't say anything, and he wonders how she got such great intuition since she was able to get the timing right. Confused, Jae-hyun doesn't say anything, and he wonders how she got such great intuition since she was able to get the timing right. Eventually, Yoo-jung butts in and says it's time to stop chatting because they need to eat if they plan to get anything done tomorrow. She tells our boy to wait and see because she'll go and make something, but he tells her not to bother since they can eat some of the fruits they foraged. Annoyed, Yoo-jung asks why he said that and asks if he doesn't trust her. So our boy asks her to tell him the color of the cookie she made during home economics in middle school if she wants him to trust her. After thinking for a while, Yoo-jung recalls that they seem to be purple, so Ina asks her if she put in some blueberry jam. However, Jae-hyun clarifies that that's not the case, but Yoo-jung can't cook, and he recalls how they had to call the teacher because he passed out after eating the cookie. To clarify things, he states that he can't cook either, so Ina mentions that she knows a little about cooking and asks if she can cook for them. Surprised, Jae-hyun asks her if she can cook, so she says she used to cook every day when she was living with her grandmother. As she ties up her hair to start cooking, our boy recalls that there was never much information on Seo Ina's family life, since she just mentioned that she used to live with her grandmother. Our boy wonders if that means there's some circumstance around her parents. After a short while, Ina finishes her cooking and serves it to the others. When Yoo-jung tastes it, she hugs Ina and declares that the food tastes delicious. Jae-hyun also keeps munching and agrees that the food is delicious, and he's surprised they can eat something this good at a place like this. The compliments from them warm Ina's heart, and a smile forms on her face because it's been a while since she felt like this. Meanwhile, in the Meals Academy control room, Instructor Seok-gi mentions that the much-anticipated cadet, An Hoyeon, is in 4th place. It's more surprising that the 1st and 2nd places are magicians, which is truly incredible. And Instructor Yisu still wonders if there's a possibility that it's a system error, because there seems to be no other way to explain this. Chairman Ja-in, on the other hand, seems to be beaming with excitement. Until now, such scores were only shown by warriors, and he can't seem to wrap his head around this new situation. A party with only 3 magicians is leading the event by taking out a group of seniors from the get-go. Excited, the chairman asks Instructor Kim Ji-yeon to rewind the paralyzing spore part, and he watches Jae-hyun kick into Si-hyuk's face when he appears. He's enthralled by the fact that the boy could have such judgment in a situation like that. In addition, he has the ability to overwhelm warriors. Just calling him a magician or even a freshman is truly unbelievable. Suddenly, Instructor Hajun calls out to the chairman and explains that he's brought the profile of Jae-hyun that he requested, but he's not sure if it's the correct file. Confused, the chairman asks him what he means by that, and when Hajun begins to stutter, the chairman tells him to calm down and speak. Eventually, the instructor shows the profile that displays that our boy's aptitude score is 97%, and he's a warrior class. The information shocks the chairman, but his shock soon turns into a maniacal grin, and he finally says that this is very good. He states that he wants to personally see how talented this Jae-hyun is, and Instructor Seok-gi asks him if he's saying that he wants to interfere personally. The chairman zooms in on Hoyeon and proposes that they make an interesting scenario, so Instructor Seok-gi mentions that he'll prepare everything. Inside the demiplane, Jae-hyun's group keeps taking out other people and keeps earning points. At one point, Yoo-jung is surprised that they've earned up to 1,100,000 points, and Jae-hyun replies that this is good, because it's certain that they're in 1st place. However, Yoo-jung asks him if they really have to leave their shelter, so Jae-hyun replies that it can't be helped because the seniors are too afraid to come there anymore. Ina agrees with Jae-hyun that they need to move if they want to gain more points. Eventually, Yoo-jung agrees with both of them and asks what the record for the highest points obtained in a freshman hunt is. Ina informs her that it's 1,140,000 points. As they keep going, our boy senses something, so he signals the ladies to get ready because someone's coming. While they're standing, someone blasts past them, and Jae-hyun notices that this power seems to be way more than the level they're restricted to. The system announces that the connection to the demi-plane is unstable and that the restriction on the player is broken. Jae-hyun tells the new fellow that he didn't think they'd meet again like this, and it turns out the fellow who has been loosed from his restriction is Hoyeon. When he asks Hoyeon what he's doing, he doesn't reply and keeps looking at the ground, so Jae-hyun wonders if he's unable to hear his voice. Ina warns Jaehyun to be careful because she doesn't think this guy's in his right mind, and it's like he's being controlled by something. So, our boy suddenly recalls that this is the chairman's handiwork. Before he regressed. Something similar happened back then at the Mills Festival. That day, which was supposed to leave the young cadets with happy memories, instead left horrible red stains that couldn't be forgotten. The cause of the event was Gu Jian's unique skill called indoctrination. After all his evil actions became known, just before he was arrested, Jian created a horrible event to turn the world's attention away from himself, so he could hide. On that tragic day, numerous cadets lost their lives, and Gu Jian escaped. For Jaehyun, it was also the day that Kim Yoo-jung lost her life. In the present, Hoyeon activates his sword, and Jaehyun realizes that he needs to get Hoyeon to return to his senses first. Suddenly, a screen appears from the Nornir system, and a subquest to save the cadet under mind control is given. His job is to break the spell off the cadet under the mind control spell and save him. The difficulty is C-ranked, and the reward is one blank card, with a 2-hour time limit given for this quest. Jaehyun is surprised by the subquest but is more surprised by the mention of a blank card as a reward. The thought of getting a blank card that he can use to copy another person's abilities excites him, and Yoo-jung tells him she'll help him. But he tells her he's fine and asks the ladies to leave quickly. He asks them to get as far away as they can and see if they can get some points while they're at it. Yoo-jung stands there confused, and she reminds him that his opponent is the famous genius warrior, so he can't defeat him all by himself. But our boy only smiles at her and asks her if she thinks he can't. For a while, Ina hesitates, but she finally agrees to leave, and Yoo-jung is shocked by the fact that she's agreeing with Jaehyun. Frustrated, Yoo-jung decides to play along and suggests they go gain points like he said, but she asks him not to get hurt before she leaves. She rushes into the woods and drags Ina, who is still looking at Jaehyun, and she asks him to beat Hoyeon up or steal his name tag and then come find them. After the ladies leave, our boy mutters to himself that it won't take too long. A few hours ago, after Hoyeon just took out one of the seniors, he wonders if his last kill made a total of 600,000 points. He's glad that he managed to survive for 2 days and knows he just has to hold on for one more day. Since he's in 4th place, he wonders how 1st place is still out of his reach even after he had worked pretty hard, and realizes this is what is expected of Meal's Academy. The fact that Jaehyun ranked 1st as a magician in a situation where his skills are restricted, and even carried his teammates to the top ranking as well, impresses him. However, he decides that he can't lose either, and he still has to work hard because there's still time. While he's thinking, Chairman Ja-in appears to him on the screen and informs him that he would like him to personally help him with something. The chairman uses his indoctrination skill on him and tells him he has a small favor to ask him. After Hoyeon's eyes light up from the indoctrination, the system issues him a warning that someone has infiltrated his mind. As the power overtakes him, he wonders what he's doing where he is. Soon after, the system informs him that his mind has been corrupted. After that happens, he immediately realizes that he has to take out Jaehyun. In the present, Hoyeon employs an A-rank skill called Martial Ascendance. He dashes towards Jaehyun once more and tries to cut him down, but our boy is able to dodge his attack. Jaehyun doesn't think Hoyeon was this skilled even just a few days ago, but he continues to dodge each of his attacks. It seems to him that Hoyeon has become unrecognizably skilled. As Hoyeon tries to smash his shield into him again, Jaehyun jumps backward and avoids the impact. He knows that he'll lose if this fight is determined by both of their physical abilities. To create some distance between them, our boy blasts himself backward with a gush of wind after activating his wind boost skill. The impact of the wind is so strong that Hoyeon blocks his face with the shield, but this gives Jaehyun enough time to circle to his back before he brings down the shield. Our boy tries to use some lightning magic on him, but before he can hit him, Hoyeon turns back and moves backward in one swift movement. This reaction surprises Jaehyun because Hoyeon was able to move his body first, even before his eyes could track his opponent's movements. Jaehyun realizes that his opponent has an innate battle sense, and this isn't as easy as he thought it would be. Breaking indoctrination would be easy with his absolute calculation skill, but the problem is that Jae-in is watching them. Even if he can't see the chairman, he reasons that he's probably got an evil grin on while watching what he does against the talented warrior An Hoyeon. This time, Jaehyun smiles, and he considers that it would be such a waste to end things carelessly. He decides to give them a show if they want to watch, but promises to make the show an expensive one. When Jaehyun begins his display, Instructor Yisu wonders if she's seeing things correctly. It's unbelievable that our boy, who is a magician, is fighting on the front lines like a warrior. But now he's overwhelming his opponent, even when the opponent is the said genius warrior, An Hoyeon. On the field, Jaehyun seems to be using his lightning chain skill, and Yisu considers all of this unbelievable. She wonders how on earth this boy is doing that since a magician can't win against a warrior. And that is something that has always been carved into her mind as she walked down this path as a magician. Meanwhile, Chairman Ja-in watches with keen interest when Jae-hyun injures Hoyeon, and he begins to plead. In the demiplane, Hoyeon crouches by his sword, and Jae-hyun tells him that he wasn't planning to go this far, but he promises him that he's tough and he'll recover quickly. Eventually, Jae-hyun takes a look upwards at the instructors since he knows they're watching. Then he activates his flash bomb skill, and the impact blinds all the cameras and stops the instructors from seeing the field. Inside the meal's control room, Instructor Seok-gi turns to Jiyeon and demands to know what happened to their screen. But the chairman realizes that something is wrong, so he grabs the remote out of her hand, desperately trying to bring the video feed back up. Instructor Jiyeon mentions that it seems that Jae-hyun used a spell to block their sight, but Jae-in recognizes that he used flash bomb, and he wonders out loud if this is how Jae-hyun wants to do things. He immediately summons Instructor Seok-gi, and he asks him to bring Jae-hyun to his office after the event ends. Worried, Seok-gi asks the chairman if it's alright for him to decide so hastily, but the already tense chairman places his hand on the instructor's shoulder and asks him why he thinks Cadet Jae-hyun, who was already in a situation of victory, would decide to block their sight. While stuttering, Seok-gi replies that it would be because Jae-hyun knows how to raise his worth. In the demiplane, Hoyeon remains crouched on the ground as the blinding light from the flash bomb blocks everything. Eventually he walks up to Hoyeon and places a hand on his head, activating his absolute calculation skill, which allows Jae-hyun to lift the indoctrination controlling him. Suddenly, Hoyeon's eyes become clearer, and he recognizes Jae-hyun. Still smiling, our boy asks him if he's feeling better, and Hoyeon attempts to get up and says he's feeling better, but he soon collapses to the ground because of the violent pain that runs through his body. Our boy apologizes for the pain and reminds him that he attacked him out of nowhere, but Hoyeon doesn't seem to remember attacking him. He asked why on earth he would do that, so Jae-hyun informs him that he was under a mind control spell. Confused, Hoyeon asks him what he means by mind control, but when he thinks about it, he recalls seeing a face that he can't remember clearly, and hearing a voice he can't remember either. However, it doesn't make sense to Hoyeon because spells like that, to even control someone for even a short period of time, are usually over A rank, but they had told them that they could only use skills C rank and below. Jae-hyun informs him that he doesn't know because there might have been a slight malfunction with the demiplane, or perhaps someone intervened. Hoyeon remains silent for a while and considers that there's no way a cadet could cast a mind control spell of this caliber, even if there were a malfunction in the demiplane. Eventually he asks Jae-hyun if he knows who could have intervened if that is the case, or why they would do something like this. But Jae-hyun tells him he doesn't. However, he adds that if whoever did this could do something like this, they're probably someone most wouldn't dare go against. Jae-hyun doesn't want to spell it out to him, but he knows that as they go through more experiences at Miles, Hoyeon will also figure out for himself what kind of person Gu Ja-in is. Suddenly, the Nornir system announces that Jae-hyun has cleared the subquest to save the cadet under mind control, and he's received a blank card as a reward. Eventually Hoyeon attempts to get up. He realizes his body is a mess, but Jae-hyun doesn't have a single injury, so he wonders if this is his current limit. When he finally gets up, Hoyeon says he has nothing to say for himself and apologizes for what happened. But Jae-hyun jokingly tells him not to be gross, and says he'll be leaving now since Hoyeon can move around. Before he leaves, Jae-hyun wishes them both success in the remaining time, and as he turns around, Hoyeon stops him and offers him his name tag. Confused, Jae-hyun asks him what he's doing and reminds him that he'll be eliminated if he doesn't have his name tag. Regardless, Hoyeon states that it doesn't matter and informs him that he's been able to earn quite a bit of points, even though it's not as much as Jae-hyun has been able to earn. However, because he lost, he believes that the name tag belongs to Jae-hyun. After he tosses the name tag to Jae-hyun, he tells him that he lost this time, but it'll be different next time, and he promises to win his name tag back at the Mills Festival. After Hoyeon disappears, the demiplane system announces that he's been eliminated, and it awards 10,000 points to Jae-hyun's team. For a moment our boy just stands there staring at the name tag that he recognizes is only worth 10,000 points. However, to him, the name tag is worth a lot more than that because Hoyeon was born with the combat talent that he coveted so much in the past, and now he acknowledges him. He's experienced quite a lot since he regressed. But this sense of accomplishment is on another level. With a smile on his face, he believes this is the beginning. For the first time, he feels like he's starting to move forward, leaving behind the past where he was weak as hell and stepping forward. Sometime after that, the 72-hour event finally comes to an end, and the system calculates the points that everyone has earned. Jae-hyun earns the highest number of points on record, which is a startling 1.53 million points, and he's soon transported back to the real world. When the students appear back in the real world, our boy considers that 1.53 million points aren't so bad, But Yoo-jung immediately busts his ass for not being much happier, since it's still the highest number ever recorded in the event. She turns to Ina to get some support. But Ina laments about how they would have been able to get 1.6 million points if they had just stayed one more hour. At this point, Yoo-jung realizes her teammates are really insane. She tries to cheer them up by saying that they should be able to live quite luxuriously for a while with this many points, and Jaehyun agrees. He calculates that if they multiply the points by 10, it would be kind of similar to real currency value. It's safe to say that they've just earned about 15.3 million won, which is approximately $12,000, and Yoo-jung almost drops her jaw. When Ina hears that, she's shocked that it was such a huge amount of money. Our boy informs them that he's first, but they have 1.48 million points at second, and they should also get bonus points. The mention of bonus points makes Yoo-jung grab Jaehyun, and he tries to shake her off and explains that the bonus point is about 1 million points or so. The thought of all that money makes Yoo-jung light up like a Christmas tree, and she starts to twirl Ina around in a dance because of the mention of 1 million bonus points. While they dance, Ina is shocked that they got 2.48 million points and won 24.8 million won in just 3 days. Jaehyun tries to stop them from dancing because it's embarrassing, and he notices the other students watching them with contempt. However, the girls continue to sing until instructor Seoki enters the room to greet everyone. He introduces himself to everyone and tells the 3 top winners he has something to speak to the 3 of them about. To get some privacy, he asks that they go somewhere else. So Jaehyun asks him if it's related to the amount of points they got during the hunt. And when he nods, Jaehyun follows him hastily. The ladies don't follow him, so they ask to know where they're going first. However, Jaehyun already knows, and he tells them they're going to the chairman's office. And Seoki affirms his prediction, informing them that they've been summoned by the chairman. Once inside the office, our boy takes his seat and crosses his legs. He asks where the chairman is, and makes a comment that the one who called them here isn't even present, which makes Seoki angry, but he has no choice but to control himself. The ladies, who are following behind, wonder why Jaehyun is suddenly acting like that, and they stand speechless until Seoki tells them to also take their seats. When they sit down, the chairman enters and apologizes to them for being late. The 2 ladies stand up, and Yoo-jung loudly introduces herself, and Ina follows suit. While Jaehyun just sits there, the chairman cheerfully tells them that he knows who they are, and Yoo-jung revels in that. Jaehyun tells the chairman that he's late and he almost fell asleep waiting for him. The comment surprises the ladies, and even Seoki becomes tense as he wonders if this kid has lost his mind. A moment of silence continues in the office for a short time until the chairman says he has no excuse for being late. He finally adds that he needed some time to prepare to talk to them. But Jaehyun immediately tells him that they're actually the ones who have no excuse since he called them out right after coming out of the demi-plane for 3 days without giving them a chance to wash up, so they had no time to prepare. The chairman's face tenses again, but this time he just laughs. Jaehyun realizes he's putting on an act and figures that it's because he's interested in the people in front of him. Finally, the chairman informs them that he brought some very beneficial news for them. He congratulates them for being the elite of the elite who secured the top 3 spots in this year's freshman hunt, especially Jaehyun, who took first place. When he says that, Jaehyun says it's all thanks to his party members, and he wouldn't have been able to do it all by himself. That comment makes the chairman hesitate as usual, and he wonders if the boy has no wish to show off his abilities. He finally agrees with Jaehyun but comments that he's also observed all his actions, and he noticed that they beat the freshman hunt's record of 1.14 million points by an overwhelming amount. When he claps and comments that the result was unbelievable, the ladies thank him for the compliment. But Jaehyun asks him where he's driving at, which makes Yoo-jung worried again. After hesitating for a while, the chairman explains that the Mills Academy would like to offer them a few special privileges. First, a suite room from the dormitory buildings within the academy will be offered for free. Second, priority in the use of the academy's facilities that usually need to be reserved in advance. Third, if they ever are unable to get a satisfactory score in the school tests, they will get a chance to retake the test. After listing out the offer, the chairman asks them what they think and explains that they will be signing a partnership contract with Mila's Academy should they agree to their offer. But Jaehyun states that he rejects the offer before the chairman finishes his speech. Our boy explains that the benefits sound nice, but those are all things they can earn by themselves in a month or so, especially since Mila's is very much a meritocracy after all, so he doesn't think they should get them while paying an unnecessary fee. Eventually, he grabs the offer out of the chairman's hands and starts reading through the terms. He reads that after signing a partnership contract with Mila's, once they start working as raiders, they would have to donate over 30% of their earnings to the school for at least 5 years. At this point, the chairman looks pretty grim until Jaehyun finally tells the chairman that this isn't to reward them, but to strike them down. When he asks the chairman if he's mistaken, The man pauses for a while and says there's nothing he can do about it if that's what Jaehyun thinks, especially since they can't be forced into signing a contract. He tells them that he leaves the decision up to the three of them, and the ladies look at each other to read how the other person is reacting to the whole thing. After a short pause, Yoo-jung apologizes and states that she would like to decline the offer, and so does Ina. The chairman covers his face as if in deep thought, but the veins on his hand bulge out in anger. Eventually, he says that it's a shame because this was the best offer he could give them. However, the chairman mentions that he will give them another chance to think about it, so he locks his gaze onto Jaehyun, using his indoctrination skill, and asks him if he still does not plan to change his mind. Immediately, the Nornir system informs him that something strange has infiltrated his mind. Jaehyun had been expecting this, but he's soon told by the system that he's completely resisted the debuff thanks to the passive skill, Hell's Blessing. While that is happening, our boy hands Hell his blank card and uses its power, because he had only annoyed the chairman in the first place to get him to use his power. For a moment the chairman just sits there puzzled as to why he didn't get a reaction. Eventually, our boy tells him they'll be leaving now, and the Nornir system informs him that he's acquired the skill called Indoctrination. With this skill, which is of a unique rank, he can manipulate someone weaker than him to do his bidding. Should both parties agree to a master-servant relationship, the skill changes into subordination. Jaehyun gets up and proposes to the ladies that they leave, especially since they're all tired from spending 4 days in the demi-plane. After Jaehyun leaves the office, Yoo-jung asks the men to have a nice day, and Ina, who is still confused, tells them they'll be leaving first. When the students finally leave, Jaehyun asks instructor Seok-gi to leave. When he's alone, he wonders how a mere freshman can resist his unique skill, and he finds this really interesting. Outside, Jaehyun asks the ladies if they're really fine with refusing Jaehyun's offer. Yoo-jung confesses that she was a bit tempted at first, but she later decided Jaehyun was right with whatever he said, because it was obvious that Jaehyun was going to sweet-talk them into agreeing and take advantage of them since they're so young. Ina agrees that she didn't also like the contract, and she thinks rejecting it was the best choice. Apart from that, she feels that it's better to earn things with their own hands than to start off with privileges. Jaehyun listens to Ina intently, and he considers her reasonable, which is completely different from the cold image he had of her before he regressed. Suddenly, Yoo-jung asks them if they also noticed that something was really strange about Chairman Jaehyun, because his expression was totally sickening when they rejected his offer. Ina mentions that she thought so too, and she also mentions that the chairman and instructor Seok-gi never said a word about the problem with the demi-plane. Jaehyun listens to them talk, and he notes that Ina has really good instincts. Eventually, she asks Jaehyun if he knows anything about Chairman Jaehyun by any chance, so he asks her why she'd think that. Ina replies that he's always pretty calm, but the moment they met the chairman, he became strangely aggressive. Yoo-jung agrees with her, and she bugs Jaehyun to tell them if he knows something about the chairman. To answer their questions, he tells them that he's also not certain, so it's hard to tell them anything. But he informs them not to trust anyone in the academy, whether it's the chairman or the instructors. Suddenly, Ina walks up to him and asks if they can't trust him too. And while Jaehyun pauses, Yoo-jung steps behind Ina with an eerie look in her eyes and tells her not to trust Jaehyun either. She points out Jaehyun's fierce look and narrates how he once left her stranded in the middle of the streets instead of taking her home. And Jaehyun asks her why she's suddenly bringing up something that happened a long time ago. Annoyed, Yoo-jung grabs his hair and calls him a jerk, reminding him of how hard a time she had back when it happened. Eventually, our boy manages to get Yoo-jung off him, and he suggests they go in to rest since the sun is set. When it's time for them to separate, Ina doesn't look like she wants to leave, so she asks them if they'll be parting ways here. For a moment, an awkward silence occurs, and Yoo-jung just looks at the two of them. Suddenly she hugs them both and asks why it feels like a teen romance over here, so she asks them to make room for her too. Jaehyun, however, drags her away and points her to the girls' dormitory, then asks her to go get some rest. She eventually agrees to go rest, and Ina follows behind, but she reminds Jaehyun to rest well before she leaves. Our boy soon heads to the boys' dormitory. When he gets to the door, he realizes it's been a while since he's been here. He recalls the musty smell of mold from the corners, the floor that a lack of funds left unmaintained, creaking with every step, and eventually goes to his bed. To him, those who remained in this dormitory after a few years are those without talent. So he hopes to find a new place as soon as class is over the next day, because experiencing hell once was plenty enough. The next day, Jaehyun goes for a run, and eventually stops after he feels he's done enough for a warm-up. He turns around towards the dormitory so he can start getting ready for his first class. Shortly after, all the freshmen that are magician cadets gather in a room, and their assigned instructor for the basic mana acclamation, Kim Ji-yeon, comes to introduce herself. While she talks, Jaehyun frowns because this instructor isn't someone he's familiar with. Even considering the fact he was a warrior in the past, he doesn't have many memories of his instructor. she could be one of the instructors who quit soon. Even though becoming an instructor at Mills wasn't easy. The instructors who still remained at Mills were those like Kim Seok-gi that were greedy for the crumbs Jian was willing to throw them. Jian mentions that she's sure that most of them found it strange that their first class was not in a classroom, but a large facility like this instead. As some doors open behind her, she explains that the reason is to test their mana sensitivity. The students are shocked by the sight of the doors that seem to be exposing a mana cube, and they hope they're not saying they have to go in there. While they lament that this is too difficult for a first class, Jaehyun considers that this mana cube feels similar to the mana cube he saw before, but it has way less mana. Instructor Jiyeon explains to them that what they're looking at right now is called a mana room. It was built based on a mana cube that can normally be found at guilds. For cadets like them, she explains that it is close to impossible to break out of a mana cube, and that is why they prepared this. The odd thing is that our boy had broken out of a mana cube at his guild. The mana room is divided into many subrooms. The first room's mana is similar to the amount in the atmosphere, but the mana becomes thicker as you go further in. On average, a first-year Mills Academy cadet can usually reach level 3. A graduating cadet can reach their limit at around level 7. In this class, they will find out what level their mana sensitivity is at. Jiyeon asks the cadets to form a line and follow behind her. She informs them that they can raise their hand if they have trouble during the test, so they can follow the assistant instructors out of the room. Soon after, she enters one of the mana rooms, and the cadets follow her in. After everyone enters, Instructor Jiyeon notes that none of the cadets seem to be having trouble at level 1. She decides that they move to level 2, and when they enter, some of the cadets begin to pant, and the instructors have to help them out. After they leave, Jiyeon asks the rest that are still standing to follow her to level 3. And when they enter, almost half of the class raises their hands. But Jaehyun, Yoojung, and Ina do not seem to be affected at this point. Instructor Jiyeon asks that the rest follow her to the 4th level, and many more people raise their hands. When those uncomfortable leave, she proposes they move to level 5, and then many more people ask to be excused at that point. At level 6, several other people are taken out due to exhaustion. Yoojung asks Jaehyun if he feels like it's starting to get hard to breathe, but he says he doesn't think so. Meanwhile, Ina watches Jaehyun and notices that he seems like he's still doing fine, so she decides to try harder. Jiyeon looks around, and she notices there are only 4 cadets remaining. Jaehyun, Yoojung, Ina, and one other guy named Lee Soo-hyuk. They are all cadets that scored high during the freshman hunt. Chairman Ja-in had told her to keep a close eye on Jaehyun and report back to him, but she doesn't plan to simply follow such orders. She soon tells the cadets they'll be moving on to level 7, and the other students wonder who the heck those guys are that are moving on to the next level, especially since the instructor had said only graduates reach level 7. When they enter the 7th level, Instructor Jiyeon proposes that they move on to the 8th level, and asks any of the cadets if they're having trouble, and no one speaks. Even though Yoojung seems to be struggling at this point, the other students are in awe as they watch them move to the 8th level, and when they get there, the cadets feel a sharp spike, except for Jaehyun, of course. Starting from level 8, the mana level fluctuates at every moment like it does within a dungeon. Jiyeon knows that geniuses should have trouble starting at this point, and true to her expectations, Soo-hyuk and Yoojung raise their hands to leave the mana room. Meanwhile, Ina begins to sweat, but when neither she nor Jaehyun raise their hands, Instructor Jiyeon has no choice but to move to level 9. When they enter level 9, Ina almost vomits and begins to stagger, which startles Jaehyun. When Jiyeon turns around, she's unable to help because she recalled that the chairman had told her that she should never offer any cadet help before they ask, no matter what kind of situation they face. He had said that danger is no different from a new opportunity to a cadet, and if that opportunity is taken before their eyes, that would be heartbreaking. Jaehyun asks Ina if she's alright, and she tells him she is while trembling. At this point she can't clearly see Jaehyun's face and she really doesn't want to lose. Everyone Ina knew had always told her that only the strong can survive, and she won't be able to do anything but bow down before a warrior, even if she has some talent with magic. She's been told that the weak have no future, and she really desires to be acknowledged at this point, but she finds herself collapsing as Jaehyun tries to hold her up, and she tells him she's lost again. As the assistants take her out, Jaehyun wonders what she meant by losing. When they enter level 10, Instructor Jiyeon asks Jaehyun if he's alright, and she knows even she will begin to have some trouble from here on. Eventually, our boy turns to her with a smile on his face, and he states that he's also having some trouble and would like to go out now. When she hears that, Jiyeon asks him to come out with her. As she heads out, she wonders what he means by having trouble since she can't see a single sign of that. When they finally get out, Jiyeon asks the other cadets to clap for Jaehyun, because he succeeded in reaching level 10, which means he's on a par with a raider, that is, a B rank or higher, as she tells everyone else to work hard and try to catch up with him. Soo-hyuk glances at Jaehyun with a frown, and Ina doesn't look so happy with herself. Shortly after, our boy asks Ina if she's alright. She tells him she is and apologizes for making them worry. So Jaehyun tells her it's good since nothing serious happened to her. Yoo-jung asks Jaehyun if he's also alright since he looked pretty unaffected a while ago, and he tells her he is. Then he asks her to take the towel from around her neck because she looks like a construction site worker. The statement riles Yoo-jung up as expected, and she regrets having been worried about him. While she's ranting, Jaehyun asks her if she's also not in any pain, and she says that the doctors also said she's fine, and she gloats about how fit she is. For a moment, Jaehyun watches Ina. He had thought she was just a bit competitive, but something seems to be different. It seems to him like a case of compulsion. Fortunately, she didn't get very hurt this time, but with that kind of personality, it will be hard to control her later. Of course, he doesn't mean to make Ina dance to his tune, but like it's happening with Seongun, Hoyeon and Jaesung, he has a feeling that Ina's future will change also. He also figures that's also true for Yoo-jung, and while he glances over at her, she asks him what he's looking at and if she's that pretty. But Jaehyun asks her if she's sure there's nothing wrong with her, because she could only be saying such nonsense if she's hurt somewhere. As Ina tries to subdue Yoo-jung from taking revenge, our boy thinks about how he doesn't know what kind of effect his actions will have in the future. In this quickly changing environment, he decides that he needs to prepare if he wants to stay one step ahead. While he's thinking, Yoo-jung manages to break free from Ina's grip, and she wraps the towel around Jaehyun's neck. With a smile on his face, our boy removes the towel, covers her head with it, and uses it to scatter her hair. When he's done, Yoo-jung begins to curse and her surroundings light up like an inferno. Annoyed, she asks him if he knows how much time she spent setting her hair this morning, and asks him if he has a death wish. However, Jaehyun tells her he's sorry, but he comments that it doesn't really make that much of a difference. That statement further annoys her and she asks him if he's calling her ugly, and it is at that moment that Jaehyun realizes he messed up. He immediately turns around to make a run for it while Yoo-jung chases after him. While Ina watches them in amusement, Ina considers how the two of them are really close, and when the two friends run past Soo-hyuk, the guy notices Jaehyun and wonders how the bastard reached level 10. While he's looking, a friend of his named Kim Min-soo comes by to say hi and asks him what he's thinking about so deeply. Soo-hyuk asks Min-soo to tell him everything he knows about the guy that's getting his hair pulled out by the lady. And even though Min-soo wonders why Soo-hyuk is talking to him like a slave, he explains that Jaehyun is the first guy to get first place in the freshman hunt as a magician. Soo-hyuk tells him that he knows that, but what he wants to know is where a guy like that came from all of a sudden. But Min-soo just shrugs because he doesn't have that answer. No matter how much Soo-hyuk thinks about it, it doesn't make sense. To him, there's something weird about this Jaehyun guy and he believes he's hiding something. Meanwhile, Min-soo thinks about how he's not used to this new Soo-hyuk because he used to know him when he was younger. Eventually, he tells Soo-hyuk that Jaehyun has already proved himself twice, so there's no need to keep looking for something mysterious, since it's most likely impossible to cheat in meals. However, Soo-hyuk informs him that there's no way there's someone stronger than him unless they're cheating. That statement stuns Min-soo, and he considers that Soo-hyuk won't win against Ina or Yoo-jung either, but he doesn't say it out loud. Eventually, he advises Soo-hyuk that they don't need to become unreasonable, because he won't win against Jaehyun even if he dies and gets resurrected, but the guy doesn't listen to him. Sometime later, Jaehyun has a video call with his delightful teacher, Seongun, and he asks her if she called him because she wanted to hear about what happened at the freshman hunt. Seongun agrees that she did, because it's more interesting to hear it from him directly. Excited, he informs her that he got first place, and that makes Seongun proud. She notices that his apartment seems to be too good for a freshman to have, and suspects that he got a lot of points. Finally, she congratulates him for taking the best first step in Meals Academy, known for being hard to survive. She tells him she's proud of him, and our boy mentions that he's relieved because he was worried that she would scold him if he got second place. That makes her giggle, and she asks him if there were any cadets who caught his eye during the freshman hunt. Surprised, Jaehyun asks her if she's going to scout them or something, so she tells him that they're considering it and they're planning to reward him for the information he shares. Jaehyun explains that telling her isn't hard, but to think he'll get a reward for something like this? He asks her if she's not being too generous, but she insists that she's doing this because she knows he won't cooperate if she offered 10 times the amount in the future. Eventually he mentions Ina, Yoo-jung and Hoyeon, saying those three are the ones that can be recruited by Yeonhwa. When he hesitates to mention someone else's name, Seongun asks him to speak, so he adds that he knows someone who isn't a freshman, but would be good to recruit from the upperclassmen. Seongun promises to give him a big welcome. After they end the call, the guildmaster thinks of Lee Jae-sang, whom Jaehyun had mentioned, and she recognizes him as the youngest son of the S-rank raider, Lee Jae-sin. During the call, She had mentioned to Jaehyun that Jae-sung is not as talented as his other siblings, and she knows that Yeonhwa might have some problems with Lee Jason's Zephyr Guild by taking Jae-sung in. With such a risk, Seongin asks Jaehyun if he still thinks they should recruit the boy, and he says he does because Jae-sang will become the world's best alchemist in the near future. After they end the call, manager Sung Jae informs her that Guildmaster Ms. Baek Jihyun has arrived. Seongin asks him to escort her in, so Ms. Jihyun steps in with Yeonju behind her. When they step in, Seongin comments that they arrived exactly on time, so Jihyun responds that time is also a very valuable property to a merchant. Ms. Jihyun stretches her hand to Guildmaster Seongin and states that it's been a while, but Seongin politely tells her that she doesn't think they're close enough to greet each other so familiarly, and asks her to take a seat. When Jihyun has her seat, Seongin, still smiling, asks her what the master of the Curator Guild wants with her. Jihyun is amused by Seongin's straight-to-the-point nature and comments that becoming close will really be difficult. But she admits that she also likes it. Eventually Jihyun mentions that there seems to be someone Yeonhwa has been raising quite well, so she asks how much she can purchase Jaehyun for. Seongin tells her that it's unfortunate that Yeonhwa Guild doesn't think of its members as commodities that can be bought, so she suggests that Jihyun look somewhere else. However, Jihyun asks her if the child would agree with that, so Seongin tells her there are some things that can't be bought with money, but remarks that she most likely wouldn't know. Eventually, Jihyun replies that she didn't think Seongin would take her offer anyway, and it doesn't matter because she only came as an act of courtesy. Amused, Seongin informs her that her thoughtfulness is quite unpleasant, but Jihyun thinks that's a shame, and decides to leave since it's getting late, and Seongin doesn't seem to want to talk to her either. As she gets up to take her leave, Seongin retorts that she's glad that she noticed that she doesn't want to talk to her. And Jihyun jokingly responds that a sharp eye is also a merchant's virtue. The next day, after an endurance test at the Mills Academy, the cadets wait for the system to analyze the results of the endurance test. An Hoyeon ends up first with 101 points, while Jaehyun comes in second with 99 points. The result makes our boy hiss, but he had expected that he won't be able to compare to a combat genius like Hoyeon. However, he doesn't consider second place a bad result. To him there's no need to rush, but he also keeps in mind that he hasn't reached his goal. When Jaehyun turns to the ladies, he notices their disturbed looks, and Yoojung eventually asks him what the hell he is, and she asks how a magic raider can get second place and contend with An Hoyeon in an endurance test. When she demands to know how that's even possible, our boy informs her that it's not strange since he started out as a warrior, but that explanation still doesn't satisfy Yoojung. When she tries to protest again, Jaehyun tells her there's no need to focus on only magic so much, and she needs to also focus on her health. That remark makes Yoojung grim again, and she threatens to one day show him he's not as important as he thinks he is, but Ina soon holds her back so she doesn't start another fight. Meanwhile, Instructor Soki watches them nearby and he realizes that Jaehyun is a dangerous guy, just like the chairman said. The boy's muscular endurance is not something a magician should possess, and that makes Seoki wonder what on earth he is up to. Soon after, the students hear the bell that signals that their next class is about to start. So Seoki tells the students that their second endurance test is called the AR evasion test. Jaehyun recalls this test from the time before he regressed, and he knows it was the test that examined numerous cadets on their talent and made them hit their limit. Seoki explains that they'll be gathered in a room with top-tier cutting-edge facilities called the AR test room. The AR combat measurement system in front of them will help test each cadet's ability through virtual battles with opponents created within augmented reality. Jaehyun listens intently, and he realizes that Seoki is not planning to do this the easy way. Normally, what they would do is eliminate the monsters materialized by drones while analyzing their pattern of attack, but they will only focus on assessing their evasion abilities this time because it's an endurance test. However, if they defeat monsters, they will receive higher scores. Seoki hands the cadets some objects that look like earphones, and when Yoojung asks, Jaehyun explains to her that they're receivers that can analyze and record the combat simulation. After noting Jaehyun's correctness, Seoki adds that this receiver is used to implement augmented reality. It stimulates the brain and using the projector, creates the realistic illusion of an actual monster. Through drone cameras, 3D images are augmented into the surroundings, making it seem like there are real monsters present. The use of such devices is for safety and to avoid the possibility of getting hurt. What Seoki doesn't tell them is that the receiver stimulates the brain such that they can still feel about a fifth of the opponent's attack damage. The aim is not to shock the cadets but to create a certain level of caution to increase their possibility of survival in dungeons. Seokshi explains that the AR system has a total of 100 levels, but they will be evaluated only up to level 10. The test will be done in teams of 4, and they will now be grouped and called in order for the test. Before the test begins, the teams are formed, and Team 3 contains 2 warriors and 2 magicians, including Jaehyun and Soohyuk. Jaehyun considers that it's pretty balanced. While he's thinking, Soohyuk calls out to him and asks him if he's Min Jaehyun. Our boy replies that he is, so Soohyuk tells him that he heard that he got first place in the freshman hunt. But there's something he can't just understand. He wonders how a magician can get first place and reveals he believes there's a special reason for that. So he asks Jaehyun to teach it to him. After pausing for a while, Jaehyun asks him if he's considered the possibility that there's no such thing, so Soohyuk informs him that he'll have to expose it in that case, even if he has to use force. Excited, Jaehyun smirks and asks him why he didn't just say that his goal from the start was that he wanted to fight with him. Soohyuk, who is also smiling, informs him that it's nice to see that they understand each other. The 2 other ladies on the team become worried, and one of them wonders why they're acting like that since they're on the same team. The shorter lady wonders if they'll be alright, so she tries to separate them. But instructor Seok-gi soon calls their team onto the field. When they step into the field, the system begins a 5-second countdown and informs them they'll be facing a skeleton warrior. The skeleton warrior soon manifests, and Soohyuk decides he needs to step back first to create some distance. Before he can move, Jaehyun dashes forward at breakneck speed, much to the shock of the others on the team, and the ladies try to warn him that it's dangerous. Surprised, Soohyuk asks what the hell he's doing and wonders what Jaehyun thinks a magician can do at the front line. While Jaehyun makes his way to the front, he wonders why there are still such taunts aimed at him. But he decides that it'll be best to show a bit of his ability here. After creating some mana in his hands, our boy smashes the skeleton's head with just 1 strike, and the others watch him in utmost surprise. Even Seok-gi is stunned, and everyone else in the crowd watches in amazement. Soon after, a few more skeleton warriors appear. But Jaehyun proceeds to feed his knee to another skeleton warrior standing nearby. When he lands on the ground, he initiates an active skill of his called Mana Weapon. Mana Weapon is a special skill that an ordinary magician can't make use of because it's a skill that allows a magician to physically inflict damage. It's useless to magicians since they don't fight close combat. But our boy is a different breed. Soohyuk watches in confusion, and he tags Jaehyun as a psycho. The other ladies still can't believe their eyes, and the system announces that they've completely cleared level 1 of the AR evasion test, and additional points have been awarded, with Jaehyun getting 100% of the contribution. Level 2 of the test begins, and they're faced with a monster called a Dronzer. The sight of the monster intrigues Jaehyun, and he informs the monster that it's been a while since they met. After a series of fighting in broken grounds, the system announces that they've completely cleared level 10 of the AR evasion test, while the system congratulates them for breaking the record for the shortest time to complete the test. Soohyuk considers this completely unbelievable. Meanwhile, Jaehyun considers that his performance is not too bad and that his body has been feeling lighter ever since he started using the combat technique that Ms. Seongan taught him. Suddenly Soohyuk approaches him and asks him what kind of dirty trick he just used. But Jaehyun explains that there's nothing more to what he just saw. However, Soohyuk protests that it was bad enough that he left the safety of the defense line, but he completely annihilated the enemy all by himself, which makes his performance unbelievable. He insists that doing something like that is impossible without cheating. But Jaehyun repeats that he has nothing to say because he has nothing to hide. When Soohyuk stands his ground, our boy tells him not to make him repeat himself. And he moves closer and offers to let Soohyuk confirm his strength right now if he's really curious. The move startles Soohyuk, and he calls Jaehyun a bastard, but before anything can develop, instructor Seok-gi asks the 2 of them if there's a problem. The instructor's interference stops the building tension, and Soohyuk wishes there weren't any instructors here. Our boy eventually turns to walk away, and Soohyuk tells him not to think he's won, so our boy tells him he doesn't think he lost either. Before Jaehyun can leave, Soohyuk proposes that they fight at the Mills Academy Festival, but Jaehyun refuses because he has already made plans with someone else. Sometime later, Hoyeon remembers how Jaehyun had refused to fight Soohyuk during the Mills Academy Festival because he had made plans to fight with him. He recalls having told him that he'll win his name tag back at the Mills Festival, so he decides to go train so he doesn't let Jaehyun down. Sometime later, Seok-gi and some of the assistant instructors move around. One of the assistant instructors asks the other if he's seen the results of the endurance test this year. And the other guy says he personally monitored it, and that the cadets this year are pretty good. When they start to talk about a magic cadet named Jaehyun breaking the record, which shouldn't be possible, Seok-gi considers that the boy is not merely talented, because those practiced movements he showed while fighting at the front line when he's a mere magician are unique. When they enter the chairman's office, Ja-in commends them for their good work, and he proposes that they talk about the results of this year's endurance test. Seok-gi explains that there were a total of 3 cadets who got full points, and those cadets are An Hoyeon, Cha Yu-won, and Min Jaehyun. Even among those 3, Jaehyun's scores were exceptional. The chairman thanks instructor Seok-gi for the information and commends him for working hard. On his screen, Chairman Jae-in goes over footage of Jae-hyun, and a grin develops on his face. He tells Seok-gi that he hopes he'll continue to keep him informed on Jae-hyun's actions and grades, and to tell him immediately if he starts acting strange, to which Seok-gi agrees. The chairman tells them all to keep up the good work, and he asks that they inform the instructors to prepare for the next event. Sometime later, Jae-hyun returns to the AR evasion test and completes level 27 of the test. The 27th level seems to be his limit, and this is a difficulty level that a 6-member party of C-rank raiders would normally clear with effort, so it means he's equal to that much of a force. It turns out that the next event for the freshmen is the dungeon practicum, and Jae-hyun decides to start preparing. He remembers the dungeon practicum incident, which was one of the most disgraceful and tragic incidents at Mills Academy, where numerous cadets lost their lives. He and his teammates were mixed up in that incident, and in the end, he was the only one who survived on his team. Even as he had to listen to people tell him that he should have been the one to die, he couldn't bring himself to leave Mills Academy because he didn't want to disappoint the people who believed in him. Shortly after, our boy goes to the store to make a purchase. When he's done, he wonders if he'll be able to live differently in this life. He was unable to protect anyone, led a pathetic life in his past life, and was as expendable as a single-use item. However, he doesn't plan to live the same life all over again. Living a life of regret once was enough. One day before the dungeon practicum begins, the students go to class as usual and soon finish their activities for the day. When class ends, Yoo-jung and Ina approach Jae-hyun, and Yoo-jung asks him what they should do tomorrow since it's their first dungeon practicum. Ina admits that she couldn't sleep well last night, so Jae-hyun informs them that everyone feels the same when they enter a dungeon for the first time. His comment surprises Yoo-jung, and she playfully asks if this is not his first time, and if he had gone into a dungeon for a walk or something. He retorts that he doesn't know about dungeons, but he's met monsters a few times, and there's one in front of him right now. That causes Yoo-jung to lose it one more time, and she starts to curse and pound her fists on him. Ina watches them nearby, and their goofiness makes her smile. Eventually, Jae-hyun offers the girls something if they're so worried, and Yoo-jung asks what it is. Our boy tells them that he bought the potion along with his own, and he tells them to use it when they need it. Eventually, Yoo-jung agrees to forgive him this time because of his good gesture, and Ina promises to make good use of it. Our boy considers that he survived the dungeon practicum the last time due to luck, but he'll ensure that he does it this time with skill. On the day of the dungeon practicum, Jae-hyun spends some time warming up in the early hours of the morning. Warming up is important before going into a dungeon. No matter how great a magician's mana capacity is, if they suddenly overuse high-level spells, they will experience mana rebound. If mana rebounds when casting a spell, it could injure the user's body. A magician who uses high-level spells a great deal is prone to mana rebound. And Jae-hyun recognizes that Lightning Chain and Sacrifice are high-level skills. Apart from that, he's not sure how dangerous things will get during the dungeon practicum today, and he doesn't know if he'll die or if his teammates will. On top of that, if he keeps his mana pooled up in his lower abdomen like he has just done, he can use it to strengthen his spell or body quickly when he needs to. He suddenly recalls the time before he regressed, when the system had told him that time would be regressed to the period the user most desires. While he's deep in thought, the Nornir system activates a main quest. Apparently, he has succeeded in returning to the time he longed for. From now on, he has to go through several junctions that left him with regrets, and decide whether to make the same choices or change them. The decision he takes may kill or save others, and whatever he decides to do is in his hands. The difficulty of the mission is unknown, and the rewards are unknown too, but they seem to depend on whether he takes route A or B. The worst part is that he has just 12 minutes to decide, and the penalty for failure is equally unknown. Jae-hyun guesses that something came up again, and the Nornir system is obviously trying to help him grow stronger since the gods need him for their plans. However, he doesn't understand what they mean by him choosing his route, and he wonders what on earth they're planning. Shortly after, the freshmen gather at the Mills Academy underground mock dungeon. Instructor Yejeon comes to attend to them and informs them that they'll be grouped into teams of 4 via lots and will have to act together. When the students begin to murmur, Jae-hyun guesses that the others think it's not fair. Real monsters will appear in this dungeon, and if you're lucky, you can clear the dungeon easily, but if you're unlucky, you'd be part of a low-ranking cadet team struggling to raid the dungeon. When the murmuring continues, Yejeon silences them and explains that their scores in the dungeon practicum will be part of their official tests. Apparently, only low-level monsters that they can defeat will appear in the dungeon practicum, and Yejeon tells them all to try their best. While she's speaking, Jae-hyun reasons that this is Chairman Jae-in's trap. Like the instructor said, most of the monsters that appear here are low-level, but if things go like they did before he regressed, boss-level monsters will be mixed in. He recalls the D-rank boss monster, Kobold Lord, and even though it isn't a difficult opponent for him, he doesn't plan to follow along with Jian's plans, except that the small gap Jian will leave open in this dungeon practicum might actually give him the opportunity to end him. Shortly after, Ijon declares that the cadets should come forward and pick a lot, one at a time. After picking, Jaehyun and Ina end up together, and our boy tells Ina he's glad he knows someone on the team, to which she also reciprocates. He's glad there's someone on his team he can talk to comfortably, especially someone who is skilled. While he considers coming up with a strategy, he's shocked by the sight of his two other teammates. The lady introduces herself as Warrior Kim Jina, and the guy introduces himself as Warrior Park Sungwoo. Sungwoo cheerfully asks if they're also on Team 3, but Jaehyun recalls how these two people were his teammates in his past life, and they ended up getting killed by the boss monster after they asked him to run away while they took care of things. Suddenly, our boy understands what the Nornir system means by him choosing his route, and he can see the choices in front of him. When the new two warriors step forward, our boy realizes this is what the Nornir system wanted from the start. So he shakes them and introduces himself as Jaehyun, and introduces Ina also because she's clearly shy. It amuses Sungwoo that Ina is shy, but he's certain that they'll all get along as they spend time with one another. And Gina agrees that they'll all get along well. Our boy realizes that these two warriors are the same as they were in his past life, and he's happy with how cheerful they are with Ina. Once they've gotten introductions out of the way, Jaehyun proposes they make plans first. The other two agree, and one of them suggests making Jaehyun the team leader. With the quest the Nornir system showed to him still in his mind, our boy sits down to explain the plans to them. He reminds them not to get weak no matter what pops up in the dungeon, because if the warriors in the vanguard start to falter in particular, the whole party will end up annihilated. The warriors are intrigued by Jaehyun's tactical intelligence, and Sungwoo says this is expected of the person that got first place in the freshman hunt. Sungwoo realizes the details of the strategy are no joke and says he's memorized all 6 parts of it, and Ina says she has too. Soon after, Instructor Jian steps forward to inform the cadets that their planning period is over. From now on, they will officially begin the dungeon practicum, and she asks the team leaders to come forward. Jaehyun steps forward, and when he looks to his side, he notices Hoyeon coming forward as the team leader of Team 4, which Yoojung is part of. He's glad that Hoyeon is the team leader because that means Yoojung won't get hurt. When the team leaders step forward, Jian instructs the team leaders who are ready to lead their teams into the dungeons assigned to them and wishes them good luck. Shortly after, Hoyeon leads his team into the dungeon assigned to them. One of the party members notices that the place is pretty damp and has a musty smell, which enlightens her about how dungeons are in real life. Yoojung asks the rest if kobolds will probably come out since it's an underground dungeon, and their other male teammate agrees that they probably will because he heard underground dungeons have a lot of ore. Excited, Yoojung hopes that there are diamonds around somewhere, but while she's talking about it, she suddenly pauses when she senses something, and Hoyeon immediately announces that something is coming, so he asks them to go to their positions. Yoojung quickly goes into action, but the other cadets don't look so confident when they notice that they're surrounded by kobolds. As if it's not enough that they're monsters, the kobolds are equipped with digging equipment. Hoyeon informs his team that the kobolds are weak monsters, but it'll be difficult to deal with them if they swarm them, so he charges at them and proposes they finish this quickly. Yoojung uses an explosion from her holy force and activates her flashbomb skill, causing a release of a huge explosion that blinds the monsters, giving Hoyeon the chance to cut them down. While the other two teammates fight with the monsters, Yoojung activates a move called the Wind of Helheim and activates a skill called Air Blast. She releases several blasts of air towards the chest of the kobolds and knocks them to the ground. After they take down the monster, Hoyeon asks if everyone is fine, and the ladies reply that they are. When they turn to the other male, Seho, they notice he seems to be choking, so they rush to help him, and Yoojung wonders what's wrong because she's never heard of kobolds using poison. When Yoojung looks up, she realizes that the boy isn't choking because of poison, but because of an overwhelming wave of mana hitting him. In front of them is a huge kobold boss, and the students freeze. Shocked, Hoyeon asks why there's a kobold lord here. Meanwhile, in the dungeon assigned to Team 3, Gina confesses to Jaehyun that she knew he was strong, but he's really amazing. She asks him how many monsters he's dealt with so far in their walk through the dungeon, but Jaehyun insists it's nothing, because things just happened. However, Gina insists that it's nothing, because they will be able to clear the dungeon without anyone getting hurt if things continue like this. When Jaehyun looks to his side, he notices that Ina is distracted, so he grabs her hand and asks her if other people still make her uneasy. She admits that they do, so Jaehyun realizes she's really shy. But then, there were rumors that no one had seen Ina speak more than 3 words at a time. While moving forward, the team runs into a room filled with ores. Our boy realizes that this is different from what he remembers, and this clearly must be Jaehyun's doing. It occurs to Jaehyun that his existence has caused Ja-in to change his plans from what he did in the past. Suddenly, Jaehyun senses a monster coming, and he supposes it's the Kobold Lord, so he informs his teammates to use their plan C by defending first, and then counterattacking. When Jaehyun tells them to be careful because this monster is different from what they've encountered before, Sungwoo becomes worried that a stronger monster is coming, especially because they had been told that only weak monsters appeared here. Suddenly something breaks in through a nearby wall, and the cadets are shocked to see a Kobold Lord. They wonder what a boss monster is doing here. And as Ina is about to run backward, she recalls what Jaehyun said about the whole party being annihilated if any of the warriors in the vanguard start to falter. She quickly activates the magic armor around the warriors, and Sungwoo struggles to focus because of the sheer size of the monsters. Eventually Jaehyun activates his taunt skill, and when the Kobold Lord attacks Sungwoo's shield, Sungwoo calls out to Jaehyun. Our boy rushes towards them and creates a mana attack in his hands, and he blasts the Kobold Lord. Ina is shocked by the amount of power that Jaehyun's attack packed, and she hopes that such a great attack would deal a great deal of damage. But the monster easily gets up as if nothing happened. The sight makes Jaehyun laugh, and as he witnesses the destroyed parts of the monster repairing itself, our boy confesses that he didn't expect anomalies. As its body heals, the Kobold Lord smiles at them, and Jaehyun starts to wonder if a Kobold Lord with regenerative abilities isn't too much to handle. Suddenly the Norner system identifies the existence behind the Kobold Lord as something called Odin's Raven, so it gives him a special quest called the Raven Hunter. The special quest requires him to kill all of Odin's ravens that are weighing down on him and the gods against the Aesir. There are 5 objectives, and the mission is an S-rank difficulty with a reward of a blank card and class increase, with a penalty of death. Meanwhile, outside the dungeons, Instructor Jian goes through footage of Jaehyun's previous fights, and she wonders how the boy can give such a performance as a magician. She's an A-rank magician herself, but such battle skills that Jaehyun shows are unthinkable to her. She considers that the chances of Jaehyun's Team 3 taking first place in this dungeon's practicum are high, and when one of the doors opens, she's surprised to see Cadet Seho being helped up by Hoyeon, while Yoojung tells her that there's a big problem. Still shocked, Jian asks her what happened, and they inform her that a Kobold Lord appeared in the dungeon. She's surprised that they could run into a Kobold Lord because there's no way it could have gotten in, and Jian begins to wonder what on earth is going on inside the dungeons. Meanwhile, the assistant instructors come to help Seho, who has a mild case of mana addiction, and they ask him to take deep breaths. Soon after, Yoojung asks Instructor Jian if Team 3 has not come out yet, and she's told they have not. Hoyeon doesn't believe it because he's sure that Jaehyun and Ina are too skilled to be unable to escape the Kobold Lord easily. After hesitating for a while, Jian places a call through to Chairman Ja-in, who sounds surprised to hear from Instructor Jian. Even though he has a smirk on his face, she informs him about the appearance of a B-rank monster, and she requests rescue personnel. And the chairman acts surprised to hear that something like that happened. He tells her not to worry too much because he'll send a support team, so he asks her to wait on site. After he hangs up the call, Instructor Jian experiences a strong feeling of uneasiness, but can't explain it. Meanwhile, inside the dungeon, Ina, Gina, and Sungwoo grow tired. The system informs Jaehyun that the existence behind the Kobold Lord is Odin's Raven, with 2 ravens named Hugin, which translates as thought, and Moonin, which translates as memory. Odin gathered all kinds of knowledge from across the realms and used it to rule over Asgard. Eventually, Jaehyun calls the Kobold Lord a follower of Odin, showing the ravens that he recognizes their presence. Apparently the mana he feels is close to B rank, and it's a regenerative Kobold Lord. Even though our boy has grown strong, this is a difficult opponent for him, and he wonders whether he should run. To him, running would be the smartest choice. That's what he always did before he regressed, hiding behind his selfish reason of self-preservation. But his life was a continuous string of regrets. He considers this a second chance, and he doesn't care if this is someone's test for him because he's going to protect them this time. Immediately, Jaehyun tells them all to run straight out of the dungeon while he distracts the monster. Sungwoo asks him what he's talking about and asks how he will deal with the monsters. But before the words can come out of his mouth, he's ambushed by 2 kobolds from behind. Fortunately for him, Jaehyun quickly blasts them away with some holy arrows, so he asks Jungwoo to shut up and get out of there. As the Kobold Lord swings his huge weapon again to smash Jaehyun into the ground, our boy tries to explain to the others that he can't fight and protect them at the same time. As the monster is about to pound our boy into the ground, Ina calls out his name in fear. But as he turns around to face the monsters, a shield appears between him and the monster to weather the impact of the strike. Surprised, Jaehyun looks to his side and realizes that Ina activated the shield. She informs him that she can help, and our boy knows from the look in her eyes that he can't convince her out of this. He wonders if this is another change he has created in the future. Then he asks Ina to stay with him while the others go back to the entrance of the dungeon and tell instructor Jiyeon about the situation. When Sungwoo tries to protest, Jaehyun begs him to leave, so Gina agrees and promises to tell the instructor as soon as they can. As the two of them head out, Jaehyun and Ina are left alone to face the monsters. Jaehyun tells Ina he'll cover her from the back, so she summons her radiant holy sword and sends the sword through the flesh of the smaller group of kobolds. Jaehyun takes that as his cue, and he rushes forward to meet with the kobold lord that's coming for him. When he gets closer, Jaehyun notices that the kobold lord's body is melting, and our boy decides to stop in his tracks. He recalls that there's a limit to the amount of mana a body can contain, and there's something controlling the monster from the shadows, and the thing is pouring in way more mana than it can handle. That thing must be Odin's raven, and he decides to expose the ravens. Our boy equips his Mistletoe weapon. Due to having Mistletoe equipped, his field of vision expands, and the active skill called mana perception becomes equipped. Because of this, he can more clearly recognize the movement of energy from all beings that use mana. Using his mana perception skill, our boy sees the trail of mana leading away from the huge monster to a claw underneath. Jaehyun is glad that he's found it, and as the monster comes in again to strike him, Jaehyun activates his lightning chains and assures it that he's going to make sure it's dead. Meanwhile, in the gathering of the Aesir gods, one of Odin's ravens goes to Asgard to see Odin. Hugin informs the god that, through the ravens, he has found the whereabouts of Mistletoe, which had disappeared from the god's storehouse. Frigg, Odin's wife, asks Hugin where the Mistletoe is, so he informs her that it's in Midgard, referring to Earth, and it seems to be in the possession of the prophesied adversary. That disturbs her, and she calls Mimir an old fool, but Thor, who is sitting nearby, assures her that they're watching closely, especially since they signed a treaty with the anti-Aesir forces. Freya, who is also sitting nearby, accuses Thor of being complacent and reminds him how they lost Balder in the last war, and how the thing that killed him was the mistletoe branch, Mistletoe. After considering it for a while, Odin tells Hugin to find out whether the prophesied adversary has been in contact with the forces against the Aesir, so he returns to Earth to do that. Meanwhile, in the chairman's office, Ja-in keeps massaging the odd ring that he was massaging when Jiyeon called him. Soon, Siaki steps in and the chairman asks him how things are going. The instructor replies that no one seems to have noticed anything yet, and that pleases Ja-in. He chuckles again, and he's glad that he borrowed strength ahead of time. The chairman is certain that Jaehyun will fall into his hands no matter how arrogant he acts. Ja-in tells him that all of this is for Odin and the Aesir. In the dungeon, our boy targets the monster's chest with his lightning chains. However, the monster grabs the chains, which do not seem to deal any damage to it, and swings its weapon to take Jaehyun's head clean off. Our boy quickly leans backwards and jumps out of the way to avoid getting decapitated. With Ina by his side, he asks her if she can cover for him because he needs to be clear of the monster's attacks. So she tells him she'll try. But she doesn't look so good. Jaehyun realizes that Ina is probably already aware that she can experience mana rebound. Even if he ends up defeating the Kobold Lord, the chances of Ina dying are high. But he wonders why she still plans to help him regardless. In this second chance at life, Jaehyun had resolved not to trust anyone. After all, this world was completely unfair and cruel to the weak, but he seems to be having a change of mind. He turns back to his opponent and decides to end this. He only has one chance, and he sends a barrage of lightning chains at the monster once more, while Ina provides some support by creating a mana shield around Jaehyun. Our boy dashes towards the monster, and Ina, who's feeling more uncomfortable, bites her lower lip as her hands begin to shake. The riled-up monster targets Jaehyun, who is running towards it. Jaehyun recalls that his friend from his past life once told him that there's nothing more miserable than dying, because you couldn't trust your companions. So, as Jaehyun leaps towards the monster, he signals to Ina to act, and he promises himself to confirm what his friend said from here on out. Jaehyun jumps on one of the chains and uses it to travel forward, and Ina is shocked that he's able to use that as a movement skill. She wonders how skilled he is with mana control for this to be possible. Meanwhile, the monster waits patiently as Jaehyun dashes towards him on his chain. But instead of colliding into the monster, our boy jumps right above it. In a split second, the monster twists its hand and tries to smash Jaehyun out of the air without turning back because it would take much longer to turn back. But it's clearly doing this under the control of the Raven. Ina becomes worried that Jaehyun would be knocked out of the air, but our boy evades the attack and smiles. Using his mana perception, he traces the mana threads to the spot where Odin's Raven is staying, and bears down on the spot with all of the might of his sword. The strike is so strong that it breaks his sword, but it still works because the Kobold Lord reacts by letting out a shout. Suddenly, the system announces that the mana thread connecting the Kobold Lord and Odin's Raven has been broken. When Jaehyun lands on the ground, the Kobold Lord crashes behind him, and our boy walks forward to see the face of the being behind all this trouble. When he steps forward, Jaehyun finds Hugin crumbled after being hit by his strike. He asks the raven what the hell Odin's goal is and steps on its head when it doesn't respond. Eventually, Jaehyun notices a necklace with an insignia of 3 triangles, similar to the shape on Chairman Jaehyun's ring. He steps on the raven again and asks it what the connection is between Gu Jae-in and Odin, but the monster doesn't respond. Eventually, Jaehyun realizes that the raven doesn't have a will of its own, and it's meaningless to keep it any longer. He finally raises his leg, allowing the bird to fly back to Asgard to report to its master. Suddenly, Ina bursts into the area looking for Jaehyun, but Jaehyun warns her that it's not over yet because she needs to be careful about mana rebound. Before the words come out of his mouth, she suddenly freezes, and the Nornir system informs Jaehyun that corrupted mana has accumulated in his body. Jaehyun grabs his chest due to pain, and Ina does the same, but the Nornir system soon purges Jaehyun's mana due to the purity of his mana. Soon after, he finally stabilizes, and the system notifies him that his mana capacity has permanently increased by 5%. Jaehyun is glad it worked, and he's told that he has succeeded in hunting the first of his prey from the special quest called Raven Hunter. He's rewarded with 5 stat points, a blank card, and a level upgrade. Once he fully recovers, Jaehyun realizes that things could have ended up worse than they turned out. But when he turns to Ina, he doesn't see anything good, and the Nornir system informs him that his teammate's life is in grave danger. Our boy rushes towards Ina, and he's told that she will die if she does not recover immediately. Sometime later, Ina wakes up in a pool of sweat and a headache. She notices Jaehyun by her side, so she asks him what happened. He seems to have been asleep, but he wakes up when he hears her calling his name. He's surprised she's awake and asks her how she feels, and when she checks her status, she's shocked to realize her health and mana have fully recovered. She's confused about what had happened, because she remembers that she experienced mana rebound. Eventually she tells Jaehyun that she's fine and asks him how he's doing. He responds that he's fine and mentions that he fell asleep. When she looks to her side, she realizes the Lord Kobold is dead, so she asks Jaehyun why he didn't leave. He tells her that he was waiting for her to wake up because he has something to tell her. She wonders what it is, so she asks him. And after pausing for a while, Jaehyun tells her that they have to get their stories straight. Ina suddenly blushes, because the Korean phrase for getting our stories straight is directly translatable as, I want to touch my lips to yours. Outside the dungeon, Yujung demands from Sungwoo and Jina why only 2 of them made it out, and instructor Jian tries to hold her back from doing anything stupid. She tells Yujung she understands that she's worried about her friends. Meanwhile, Hoyeon wonders what he's supposed to do to help Jaehyun and Ina come back. Suddenly the dungeon door opens, and while Yujung is still raising dust, Jaehyun and Ina step out of the door, causing everyone to freeze. Jaehyun asks them if they're fighting because of the 2 of them, and even instructor Jian freezes in shock because the inspection team had told her that the 2 cadets would definitely be dead. The monster inside was at least a B-rank boss. Suddenly tears flow down Yujung's eyes, and she runs towards the 2 of them with her arms open wide. She cries while embracing them, and explains that the instructor and the inspection people all said that they'd be dead. She tells him she's so glad that they're alive, and it causes Ina to smile. But Jaehyun tells her he gets it, and asks her if she can let go of them now. Even Sungwoo and Jina are teary-eyed, and when Jaehyun notices this, he thanks both of them for trusting them. Jaehyun tells everyone that their 2 teammates left because he asked them to go get the instructor for help, and they don't deserve to be insulted or blamed. However, Yujung, who is still angry, asks them how they can just leave behind their teammates like that, so Jaehyun tells her he would have done the same, so there's no need for her to be like that. He reminds her that not everyone is as brave as her, and he asks her not to get mad for him either. The statement stings Yujung, so she lets go of his arm and clings to Ina, stating that she was mad for Ina's sake and not for him. In a flashback to the time before they stepped out of the dungeon, Ina had asked Jaehyun if he was the one who healed her body, but he tells her he knows she's confused, but it's hard to tell her everything. He explains that he doesn't want people to know about this ability, so she asks him why he's hiding it. Eventually, our boy asks her if she's not curious as to why a kobold lord appeared here and endangered the students. He tells her it's because of Chairman Gu Jae-in, who's a piece of shit who thinks of students as tools. Jaehyun tells her that Jae-in is very different from the side of himself he shows to the public and the media, and he thinks it's fine for useless students to die. Ina realizes that's why Jaehyun is against the chairman and why he's hiding his ability. And he confirms it. After pausing for a while, she reminds him of some things he said to her the day they went to the office. Apparently, he had told them not to trust anyone, whether it's the chairman or an instructor, so she asks him how much he knows about Jae-in. She points out that he knew from the beginning that Jae-in is a bad person, and he acted as if he already knew what was going to happen. So she asks him how he knows those things. When he doesn't speak for a while, Ina pleads with him to answer her, and Jaehyun still remains speechless because he didn't expect her to react like this. He knows her life may be at risk if she gets more involved, so he considers using his indoctrination skill on her. But he changes his mind because she has a high magical aptitude value. Since her mentality is strong, it might not work, and that's not a good solution in the first place and a terrible way to make allies. Eventually, he apologizes but tells her he can't tell her more than what he already has, so she asks him why he can't. Jaehyun finally explains that it'll be too dangerous for her too if he tells her any more than this, and he asks her to let it go for now. In the present, Instructor Ji-yeon bows her head and apologizes to Jaehyun for not being able to rescue them from the dungeon, and she tells him she's glad he's okay. However, he tells her it's fine, especially because she didn't put them into the dungeon knowing what was going to happen. When Jaehyun turns back to go rest, Ina runs after him and asks again if he really can't tell her the things he knows, especially because no one knows if something like this will happen again. But he apologizes that he can't tell her, and expresses his hope that she'll keep the promise she made. After Jaehyun leaves, the Nornir system informs him that he's cleared the main quest, which is the first turning point, and the rewards depend on the route taken. He's told that he took route B, which is different from the choice he made in the past. Because of that, he's given something called Idun's Golden Apple. Sometime later, Chairman Jae-in says that he has disappointed him. Seok-ji apologizes to the chairman, but the chairman insists that he will tolerate it once, but expresses that he hates having a useless subordinate. With an eerie look on his face, Jae-in turns to the instructor and asks him if he understands what he means. While trembling, Seok-ji promises not to disappoint him again, and Jae-in tells him he better not. The chairman tells Seok-ji to make sure to tame Jaehyun in the next event before his patience runs out. The next morning, our boy has a quick shower, and when he sees his clothes, he recalls how Ina experienced mana rebound. Before his regression, Kim Yoo-jung died, and An Hyo-yeon didn't reach even half of his potential, so he believes he must intervene for the sake of the future. However, he believes he doesn't need to intervene for Ina because she'll do fine without his intervention. He decides that he has to be careful about how he interacts with her, since he's not sure how it'll affect the future. Eventually, he takes his seat on the couch and turns on the TV to see if there's anything worth watching. While watching the news, he reasons that he'll have to find out the relationship between Gu Ja-in and the Asir as soon as possible, since what occurred in this dungeon is just the beginning. There will definitely be more dangerous situations in the future, and he knows he needs to grow stronger so he can respond to any situation. While watching the news, he notices one broadcaster asking another man about some other kinds of dungeons that exist other than the ones they're used to. The specialist invited to the show explains that there are theme dungeons, and you have to approach those differently than you would a normal dungeon in which you kill the boss to clear it. When asked what other feature a theme dungeon has, the man explains that the biggest difference is that you can't leave the dungeon before clearing it. And our boy recalls these theme dungeons from his past life, and he gets an idea. The specialist further explains that raiders who want to raid theme dungeons need to become a character of the theme and clear certain requirements. It could be regarded as a kind of roleplay, and what raiders want in these kinds of dungeons are rare item rewards. Apparently there's a hidden piece that raiders also call God's Arrangement, and this item is the reason raiders are desperate to clear such dungeons despite their difficulty. After hearing that, Jaehyun smirks and realizes this is his opportunity to get what he needs the most. Meanwhile, Ina enjoys a cup of tea with Yoo-jung, and she apologizes to her for making her worried. Yoo-jung tells her it's fine because she's happy as long as the two of them are okay. She admits that Yoo-jung's personality is kind of shitty, and she was worried that Jaehyun might have been mean to Ina, so she explains that Jaehyun is always like that. Ina pauses for a while and Yoo-jung becomes angry and asks if Jaehyun was actually mean to her. Surprised, Ina clarifies that he wasn't, but it's just that Jaehyun seems to trust Yoo-jung a lot. She reasons that she would be happy if Jaehyun could also trust her and depend on her a bit more. Finally, she mentions that he might trust her if she were a bit stronger, and when she pauses again, Yoo-jung becomes worried about her. So she eventually gets up and proposes that they throw out the thought of Jaehyun and go eat something yummy instead. As Yoo-jung stretches out her hands, she explains that there's a place she's been waiting to go to. And while Ina stutters, Yoo-jung grabs her hand and declares that they're going to make her feel better. At first, Ina is surprised that Yoo-jung is dragging her away, but a smile soon develops on her face. Meanwhile, our boy checks out the legendary rank consumption item called Idun's Golden Apple. It's an apple grown and picked by Odin, who is in charge of the Aesir gods' eternal youth and immortality. Consumption slows down aging immediately by 50% and increases natural healing ability by 50%. It also permanently increases magic aptitude and cannot be sold or given to another user. Jaehyun realizes that such features like anti-aging and better natural healing are super rare, and it must cost at least $1 million. However, the issue is that he can't give this one out too. He decides to focus on calculating all the loot he can get, and he recalls that an A-rank theme dungeon will open soon in a theme park in Seoul. It's where he can obtain the shoes that increase speed called Thialfi's Thundersteps that Thor's servant Thialfi used to wear. The shoes greatly increase one's dexterity stat, so a lot of martial arts raiders really wanted them. Eventually, Jaehyun takes a bite of the apple with much anticipation and everywhere lights up. But he eventually realizes the apple tastes like every other apple. Soon after, the Nornir system informs him that Edun's golden apple is starting to take effect, and his stamina stat has permanently increased by 20. His mana stat has increased by 20, with his aging rate and natural healing ability increasing by 50% each. Apart from all that, his magic aptitude will be greatly increased permanently. Jaehyun is glad that the apple's effects aren't average, and his movements start to feel lighter. He picks up his phone and soon places a call to someone. Shortly after, our boy heads to the theme park in Seoul, and he finds out that the place looks a bit cheap after seeing it after regressing. When he steps towards the counter, the attendant asks him what kind of ticket he would like, but Jaehyun drops a Lotus Guild card and introduces himself as a raider from the Lotus Guild. He informs the woman that a theme dungeon will open up in the park in a short while. Meanwhile, Instructor Jian comes to Jaehyun's hostel to see him, and she's told that he's not around. The attendant informs her that Jaehyun had said he had something to do today and asks if something is wrong, so Jian clarifies that there isn't a problem. Jian wonders how Jaehyun is already able to recover from such an incident, especially being a newly enrolled student. He's not only skilled but also very fast at recovering from trauma, so Jian realizes he has real guts. Before she leaves, she asks the attendant to tell Jaehyun to come see her when he returns. Jian steps out of the hostel and plugs in a communication device to secretly speak with a team manager named Song Jiseok Sun by Nim. Jiseok soon answers and asks her how her investigation went, so she informs him that she found out that Jian was behind it. Jiseok asks her if Seok-yi was in charge of the dungeon trial and guesses he must be in a difficult position right now. He asks her to keep an eye on both of them and call him if she notices anything. Jian receives the orders and also informs him that she thinks student Min Jae-hyun, whom she talked to him about, knows something about what is going on. At the park officials announce to their guests that they need to leave. Jaehyun is surprised by how quickly they responded, and he realizes the Lotus Guild is really influential. He recalls the call he had with teacher Shangan to inform her about the dungeon that's about to appear. When he expresses total certainty, she gives him permission to mention their guild's name on the condition that he prioritizes his safety if things become dangerous. He's amused by her condition, so she tells him that it's not that she doesn't believe in how capable he is, but no teacher in the world wants their students to be in danger, since anything can happen in a dungeon. In the present, the Nornir system informs our boy that the theme dungeon called Neverland in Ruins has appeared. Apparently, a special item will be rewarded if 3 missions are cleared consecutively. A special quest called Big 3 is added, and his mission is to clear the 3 missions, which have a difficulty of A rank, with the reward of Thialfi's Thundersteps. A 24-hour timer begins, but the failure penalty isn't stipulated. Jaehyun realizes things are just as he remembers from his past life. In a flashback, he recalls that another raider showed up and began to talk about how she could easily tell that the Viking was a mission location. In the flashback, she states that she was so smart that she could easily find some of the rides in the park, the haunted house, and the parade. Her name is Seo Ah-hyun, a 16-year-old theme dungeon raider. She openly declares that her skill, Cognition Accelerant, is pretty awesome. To her, there's nothing she can't do if she just uses her brain a bit. She talks about how excited she is to hear it's a theme dungeon, but she's not disappointed. Jaehyun recognizes her as a self-proclaimed genius with an IQ of 150. She was all excited about her own power and bragged about it but ended up being killed by those who were envious. Thanks to that, Thialfi's Thundersteps went to some other random person. This time Jaehyun figures it's going to be better for him to take the Thundersteps this time. Soon after, the Nornir system asks him if he would like to start the Viking mission, the first mission out of the Big 3, and he agrees. He's soon transported to the Viking dungeon, and the system tells him the ending of this story is being changed. Jaehyun is transported away, and not long after, Seo Ah-hyun appears close to the place he disappeared. Shortly after, our boy is completely synchronized with the character of the dungeon, and he's told that he's playing Thialfi, a warrior who survived the invasion of the Vikings. The first mission of the Big 3, called Thialfi's Grudge, is soon added. In the theme quest, Thialfi's Grudge, the god of thunder, Thor, envied Thialfi's quick feet, and kidnapped Thialfi's younger sister, Roskva, as a hostage in order to force Thialfi to work for him. Our boy is to become Thialfi and save his younger sister Roskva to resolve the grudge. The difficulty of the mission is a B rank, and the reward is an active skill called Commander's Shout. The failure conditions of the mission are Roskva's death and Thialfi's death, but the failure penalty for him is death. Thialfi, servant of the god of thunder, Thor, and fastest in the 9 realms. He was originally a human, but he began to despise the Aesir, because he lost his family to the Vikings who worshipped the Aesir. Jaehyun is surprised to learn that Thialfi hates the Aesir, because this isn't the original story according to what is popularly known. And Jaehyun wonders if this is another conflict between the Aesir and the Nornir. Suddenly, Jaehyun hears someone call out to him using Thialfi's name, and the person asks him to wake up. When he gets up, he feels a sharp pain in his head but doesn't know where he is. When he looks around, he realizes he's in a ship he stole in order to find Roskva, and when he looks to his front, he recognizes the person who woke him up as Frederick, the person who came up with the plan to steal this ship. Frederick asks him if he's okay, and as he's about to reply, the ship collides with another ship, causing the entire ship to wobble. Before they know what's going on, a group of pirates enters their ship, and it looks like they're in trouble. Jaehyun doesn't know what's happening, but it's clear he's going to have to postpone finding Roskva for a bit. Jaehyun immediately tells Frederick he'll leave this to him, and he jumps into the next ship, even while Frederick tries to stop him. When our boy jumps and lands on the other ship, the men are startled, but one of them starts to make fun of him for jumping into the enemy's territory when he should be hiding. They begin to call him names and threaten to kill him immediately, but our boy doesn't say anything. When he notices a girl tied to the middle of the ship, he recognizes that it's Seo, the same girl who had boasted about her abilities, so he wonders what she's doing here. Immediately, the Nornir system informs him that the lady tied up is Thialfi's younger sister, Roskva. Seo Ah-hyun prides herself as the owner of a genius brain and also a great raider-to-be. She considers herself an amazing person, but somehow she found herself locked up in this dungeon. Just 3 minutes before the emergency announcement at the park, she had told her friend she wanted to go to the bathroom. Now that she's stuck, she calculates that there's a 0.6% chance of a dungeon appearing where she is, and a 0.0003% chance that she'll get locked up in a themed dungeon. After lamenting about her luck, she decides not to think about it but to think about a way out of here. After tearing up because she doesn't want to die here, she hopes a raid team might have already arrived. As she hopes to run into one of them, she spots Jaehyun standing in the middle of the park, so she tails him. She wonders who he is because he doesn't seem like a part of a raid team, so she decides to follow him. In the present, Jaehyun wonders why he ended up meeting her again of all the people he could meet, especially after they even made an announcement for everyone to escape. While he's lamenting, the pirates prepare to poke him full of arrows, but our boy creates a mana shield to protect himself from the onslaught of arrows. While they fire, he wonders why he's always surrounded by abnormal people. He soon creates a punch packed with mana and knocks them all down with one strike. Eventually, our boy decides to be optimistic. Even though Seo is a bit of a bitch, he knows she'll be helpful for the raid. A new and bigger opponent appears and tries to slash Jaehyun with his sword, but our boy slides out of the way to avoid his attack. Since he can't send Seo out, he decides that it'd be better for him to use her. After evading the first attack, he lands a punch on the big guy's face and sends him rolling backward. He'll have to first take care of the situation and then figure out what to do with Seo after. The other pirates rush out to deal with him, so Jaehyun tells them he doesn't have time right now, so he asks them to come at him all at once. After a short while, he takes out all the men and walks up to Seo, then tells her she can stop pretending to sleep. Jaehyun asks her if she's supposed to be Roskva, but she only hisses and admits that she's been found out. With a smirk on her face, she asks him if he's supposed to be Thialfi. Jaehyun affirms that he is, and he crouches down to speak with her. But he suddenly cracks the structure she's tied to with a punch, causing her to tremble. With a crazy look in his eyes, Jaehyun tells her he can tell what she's thinking about right now, so he advises her not to try any of her funny ideas. It's clear the threat worked because Seo nods eagerly and hiccups. Soon after, the system informs Jaehyun that he's cleared the first mission of the Big Three, and he's being sent to the field. He and Seo soon appear in the park again, and they sit across from each other at a table. In Seo's eyes, Jaehyun is a magic class raider that moves like a martial arts raider. She guesses he's roughly the same age as her and has a shit personality. As she wonders who this strange person is, Jaehyun finally breaks the silence and asks what kind of skill she has. Seo stutters and eventually reveals that her skill allows her to be better at swordsmanship. She believes that Lai should trick Jaehyun since there aren't many middle schoolers who have skills. Since he has a shitty personality, she plans to use him to her advantage. But while she's thinking, Jaehyun tells her that's not all there is to her skill. When he tells her he hates liars, she insists that she's not lying and she has a D-rank skill called Beginner Swordsmanship Revision. After a short pause, Jaehyun informs her that her skill is called Cognition Accelerant, and he explains that it makes it feel like time's slowed down and quickens the user's thoughts. It's usually used in leadership positions, but it's effective for analyzing and figuring out the opponent's mind. When he asks her if he's wrong, she's utterly perplexed and asks him how he was able to figure out her skill. Immediately Jaehyun gets up and tells her he can't take her around with him because she still seems to be planning to lie and use him. He tells her he's not that stupid, and turns around. But she pleads with him to wait and apologizes with tears streaming down her eyes. She begs him not to leave her alone there because she'll absolutely die if he leaves her behind. Jaehyun asks her how he can trust her, and she offers to figure it out. When he hears that, our boy smiles and proposes she write a contract in that case. She's initially confused, but she soon understands what he's saying when they draft up a contract. The first term of the contract is that she can't act in any way that will harm Jaehyun. The second is that she must obey all of his orders. The third is that Jaehyun will guarantee her safety until clearing the Neverland-themed dungeon. And the fourth is that she will never talk about this contract. She grabs her hair in frustration as she reads the contract. This contract is enforceable using Jaehyun's subordination skill that comes with his indoctrination skill. He can hold supremacy through a contract. And he knows this is the best way to use her since she's a real pain in the ass. Eventually she agrees to sign it, and a binding chain appears around her neck and arm after she does. The system declares that Seo has been subordinated, and the subordination will not be broken even after clearing the question, as it is a subordination through contract. Jaehyun tries to cheer her up by saying it's a pretty good condition since it's not like he has control over her mind, but she retorts that there's no way it'd feel pleasant to have someone else in her mind. When she says that, he tells her she can break the contract since he never forced her into this, and he can just leave her here. But before he can finish his statement, she assures him she'll do her best. Meanwhile, in Hell's temple, someone tells Hell that he noticed the little adversary seems to be working hard, especially since the glares of the Aesir gods have gotten rather sharp. He shares that the Aesir gods will definitely be upset if he leaves now, so he asks Hell to be his eyes because he'll need to stall for time until the adversary is ready. At the park, Seo follows Jaehyun around, and she soon asks him where they're going now. He informs her that they're going to one of the rides called the Haunted House first, and she shrieks because she's afraid of rides. So Jaehyun asks her if she's scared. However, she asks him if he really thinks she'd be scared of that and asks what kind of middle schooler is afraid of something like that. Jaehyun responds that someone like her could be, but when she insists that she's not afraid, he agrees with her. When they get closer, our boy tells her to prepare to go in, but she pleads that she needs time to do some deep breathing. The system declares that they're starting the second mission in the haunted house, and they're soon transported there to escape without breaking the 3 rules, and some of their skills will be locked. Jaehyun asks Seo what her role is in the dungeon, and it seems to her she's a cameraman because of the camera given to her, so she asks him what his own role is. Our boy explains that he's some horror streamer and it's been a while since they've had a guest. Suddenly a huge man appears by their side and greets them. Seo looks like she's about to explode, but the man soon introduces himself as Alfred, a butler of this mansion, and he explains he's serving Countess Flandir. The butler explains that the Count instructed him to come greet them, and the Nornir system informs Jaehyun that he's received the second mission. In the second mission, called the Flandir mission, they've been invited by Countess Flandir, the owner of the Flandir mansion, but this place is creepy and holds a terrible secret. Their job is to use the camera to reveal the truths of this mansion and escape, and the difficulty of the mission is A rank. But it has a reward of an active skill called illusion. The mission will be a failure if they're unable to escape within the time limit and reveal the mansion's truths, and the penalty is death.